Welcome to the Thicc and Spooky Ghouls Podcast, where we discuss all things strange, paranormal, and unexplained.
These episodes are live recorded on Twitch and cut to fit Spotify's format. If you want to catch us live, we do our podcast once a month on Twitch.
Good evening, everybody. How is it going? We're happy to have you here. Welcome in, Sassy Squatch. We're glad to see you here. We are doing the Thicc and Spooky Ghouls Podcast tonight. We are on episode 20. But yeah, so how's everybody doing? How are you doing, Miso? It's good to see your face.
I'm a sleepy bean, but I'm doing pretty good today. How are you, beautiful?
I've been going all day. Not gonna lie, been going all day. Keeping it together, but you know. John says, hi, Miso love. Hi.
Hello.
But yeah, so we are doing the witchiest episode yet, and I'm pretty excited for this. Is that a sock stuck on your tail? Oh my goodness.
Maybe.
I was literally gonna ask the same thing.
Maybe. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about
What's
it.
the Monsters Inc. thing? Code?
What was the code for Monsters Inc. 2214? What was it? 2314? I can't remember it. How is your faith, Thicc and Spooky?
2319.
2319.
I can't go back.
You need like a part of your model that has like a cone and half of it's shaved because of that. But yes, we are doing our witchiest topic yet. I had a lot, but also I didn't know how to specify it on notes, so hopefully my presentation is fine. I will start the podcast today with the topic of cat goddess Bastet. Then we will go on to our break for a second to grab some water, use the bathroom if we need to. Then we'll get into Birdie's topic, take a break, and then we'll get into Miso's topic, take a break, and then we'll do our ghoulish bites, and then we'll close. So, our last few episodes we've actually gotten really good at managing our time, so hopefully we can do it today, because we have really big topics, like really, really big topics, and we've been trying
to condense it down.
Yeah, we've been trying to keep it between 30 minutes at the shortest, and then an hour to 45 minutes is like the goal, but then if like the longest I want us to go is an hour and a half per topic, you know what I mean? But some topics it requires that. So we've gotten really good at editing our timing for the game. Should I drop my camera? Is my ears too much, you guys? I put on my
No, I love them.
We love your ears.
You like my ears?
I love that.
It's got a little
my lighting.
Isn't it cute?
I love
You have ears behind your ears. That's insane. 4 ears.
your earception.
I actually have 6 pairs of ears. I have 6 ears.
Too many ears.
I want some of those so bad, but like realistic ears.
I got Edward hearing. I got Edward hearing with my 6 ears.
I can hear Bella throw herself off a cliff. Oh God.
No, there is this person that says, we love everything we love and hate about Twilight. And one of the things she talks about is, by the description in the book, she says it sounds like 2 pieces of porcelain crushing against each other. And so she holds these 2 porcelain bowls and starts clicking it together.
I hate that.
And so she's all like, yeah, Edward can hear this all night long from all of his siblings.
Oh God. It's like white noise at that point. You just gotta kind of fucking tune it out.
Tink, tink, tink.
So I really need to find the link and I'll add it to you guys. But she says everything we love and hate about Twilight or something like that. And she comes up with like book descriptions and she like tries to make it like real life. Kind of like that one person that says she smiled with her bottom teeth. And then like all of the ones show their bottom teeth in the TikTok. They're like, how is that? Wait, what is that sexy? Like what? But yeah.
Look, yeah.
But yeah, so she does a lot of breakdowns on Twilight. I need to find her because she's funny as hell. So yeah, we had a really fun last episode. We had the amazing, what did we have last one? We had Sassy Squatch before that, but before Sassy Squatch,
you had Brett.
We had Brett. Yes, after Sassy Squatch, we had Brett.
That's right. Yeah.
And dude, my brain is blanked out. I don't even remember the topics we talked about last time.
I've had such a hard time keeping track of all
Oh,
of them.
we
Hold
did
on.
another yokai episode. We did a yokai
That's right, it was
episode.
yokai.
I
Yes.
covered
yokai.
the brothel yokai, and then she covered the
Ooh.
kama itachi, and then I believe you covered the goshu dakoru, or gosh, I can't remember what it was. I think it's a gosh. But yeah, those episodes are all on Spotify already. So if you guys wanted to listen to some yokai episodes, they're there. I need to start researching for next month. Next month we won't have our miso covering a topic. Next month she will be a watcher. She's busy, but that's okay. But we're gonna have the amazing Kate's Elegy joining us, and we're gonna have Bentley joining us. So another one of the waifus
Bee
coming
names,
in.
bees.
The bees. So we're gonna have
Mhm.
Bentley coming back, and I don't know what her topic is. I need to figure that out so I can like figure out what the clever title for that podcast is, because the last time we did it with her, like, it was the extra thick episode, and now we're in the I don't like, this is the witchy episode. I don't know what to call the next episode because I don't know what our topics are yet. So, but I'm excited for this. I'm excited to learn about you guys' topic. Let's go ahead and get started with Bastet. Yes. Did I miss anything in the chat? We're doing good.
Nope, I think
No,
we're just
we're
getting
pretty
our
good.
welcomes from Sassy,
From the sassy, oh my,
from the
sassy.
sassiest squatch.
The sassy squatch, oh my. All right, I need
The sassiest squatch of all.
the sassiest squatch of all. All right, so I am actually covering cat goddess Bastet. For those of you guys that don't know, you'll get to learn about her. So today I'm covering something from the Egyptian mythology, and it's someone that I've actually been obsessed with since I was a little kid. And so we're going to talk about cat goddess Bast, or Bastet. You don't see her very much in social media. She's not a very popular, like, witchy goddess nowadays. But back in the day, she had a huge following. Like, for me, whenever I would be on my social media and I'm in witchy talk, of course, I'm in witch talk, you guys. Why wouldn't I
Of
be?
course.
I get constant posts of people posting about Lilith and Hecate, and they're all like, "Oh, she's calling you," and I'm all like, "Is she, or is she just what you guys know?" And you're just constantly like, these people are just constantly publishing things about Lilith and Hecate, and I never see anything about Bastet, so I don't know if she's very popular. A lot of the witchy community, has Lilith and Hecate as like their like beginning deity. I don't know if that's like a beginning witch thing that people just like, oh, here's someone you can work with and just throw it in your face. But I never felt like they were specifically calling me. And I don't know how to explain this to anyone because it's a little spirituality and some people don't quite understand that. So there's people that do, there's people that don't. And well, this is just how I feel and this is how I see not my religion, but my spirituality works this way. So I'm
Right.
not going to push some people are just critical about it. So anyways, but just because she isn't very prominent in our social medias and stuff like that, it does not mean that she is not like she's someone that you should underestimate. She's actually someone that's pretty cool to work with. She's super chill, and she is from the ancient Egyptian mythology. So she has had time, and she is actually like, she has so many titles because she's actually pretty powerful. So don't sleep up on my cat goddess Bastet because she's great. So I am a baby witch. You guys know I've just been going through my spiritual journey. I was raised super Christian, and as I got older, the more I saw the world, the more I understood the world, the more I met people, the more I drifted away from my upbringing, my super religious upbringing. And it kind of started to become like an atheist, but then I wasn't really an atheist because I always felt like there was something greater than me that's always guiding me, something like that. But I never thought it was
Right.
specifically what the Christian religion like sent us, which was Jesus Christ, God, the Holy Spirit, the Holy Trinity, or whatever you call that. That's not that wasn't for me. So I have been in search for a goddess to work with, and it took me several years to even find a goddess to want to like reach out to and work with, because for me I was just like, I don't know what to do, because it's a strange journey trying to figure it out. It really is, because you don't know what to do, you don't know where to turn, and you're still trying to figure it out, and you're trying to see like, do I align with this person do I align with their beliefs? Do I align with what they teach? Do I align with what they believe? And what, like it's like you have to find something that you can relate to so that you can find growth in that in that
Right.
deity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, interestingly enough, I finally understood her call a couple, like maybe a year or two ago, just 2 years ago. So she's very new to me, and I like it. Even became more clear, like last year in December-ish is when it was like I'm like, oh wait, why does this thing keep coming up? Why does this person keep coming up? And I'm all like, maybe they keep coming up because they've been trying to reach you your entire life. And when I say she's been trying to reach my entire life, I will talk about some of my experiences on like how she has kind of grown with me since I was a kid. So, she's been in my life for a lot longer than I even knew or expected. And like I said, I actually found her when I was like 6 years old, maybe 5. And and the way I found her is I was going through these different kids encyclopedia. I don't know if you remember them. They're like these little tiny clip books, and they're like encyclopedias about specific topics, and it makes it so that it's
I
focused
think I
on a
remember
topic.
those.
Yeah, so I used to have those growing up, right? And one of them was focused on Egyptian mythology. And that was the book that I opened. And in this entire book, I was immediately drawn to this like woman who was half cat, half woman. Like I was immediately like, I like of all the things that she was around, of all the gods surrounding her, of everything that was happening in this like little encyclopedia, she's the one that I was like immediately like, oh, who's that? You know what I mean? And so I was like a 6-year-old, and I found this and I read up on her, and yeah, she's been someone that I've been kind of like I've known about and has had like a special place in my, I guess, my interests or my likes ever since I discovered her. Since I was a kid, I'm all like, oh yeah. And it's funny because you're a kid, you're like, oh, it's a woman that's a cat. Like my brain didn't even register that that was like not really a realistic thing for me. I'm just like, oh, okay. So it is what it is. And so I really enjoyed that book. And so when I found the one about the ancient Egyptian, I learned about cat goddess Bastet. And since then, I'm pretty sure she has been with me since then. I truly believe that because there has been several situations that I've been like, there was something else that was 100% protecting me, like overtime protecting me. Because I made some stupid mistakes as a kid. Not gonna lie, I do some,
As kids do.
As you are wont to do, yes.
like one thing I vaguely remember is I was like, it was not like I was probably like 7 or 8. And so what happened is in the Philippines are like there was a flood that happened, and so the flood was up to our knees, and so I wasn't allowed to walk around. They carried me around. And so after the flood disseminated, I went back to the to this like bookshelf, which like, well, it's not really a bookshelf, it's like a cabinet that you open and close, and that's where I would keep all my books, right? So I went
Right.
over there, and I literally went and just opened this door, and a snake came striking out of this thing, and it barely missed me. It literally like struck, and it was like there, because I was on my knees and I was opening the little cabinet, and the snake struck out as soon as I opened the cabinet, and it was
God.
so close to my face. And then after that, I was pulled away by one of the people that worked in our house. He pulled me away, and then the other one like caught the snake and like used like whatever he had to cut the snake's head off. So yeah, so the snake died, but there was a snake that tried to strike at me, and I don't know how it did not make any contact, but I like you could feel the, you know what I mean? As
The
a kid,
wind, yeah.
yeah, I felt the movement across my face, and I'm just like, did I almost
Jeez,
get like
man.
my face bit by a goddamn snake? So there was that
That's
one
so scary.
time.
Oh my God.
And so that was just one of my experiences that I'm just like, somebody was watching out for me, like something, there was like some kind of
Right.
force field protecting my freaking like space, because I don't know how I managed to miss that. And that seems like something so little, but it's something that struck in my mind since as an adult. It's still something that's stuck in my mind as like a core memory of something happening and not happening. So for me, I've always thought like, okay, so something was definitely like, that's when I started to believe that guardian angels were real. And maybe every single time that I thought the guardian angel saved my ass from doing something stupid, it might have just been Bastet doing it herself. You know what I mean?
Right.
She's
Yeah.
she's a very protective goddess, and that she's like the goddess of protection. Let's focus, Daku. You will get to the description of her. Let's go back to how I discovered her and focus. Sorry. So, and how she was a part of my life for all of that. So, like I said, growing up, I knew about her, and then I would play different games, and I was obsessed with a superhero. And well, she wasn't even a superhero; she was a villain at the time. But I was watching the Batman animated series as a kid, right? And that's when they introduced Catwoman to it. And
I knew it.
immediately obsessed with Catwoman. And I've been obsessed with her since I was a kid, and she's like one of my favorite. I feel like Batman has the hottest villains, like the hottest
He really
villains.
does.
But to me, she's like the she's the babe for me of the Gotham Sirens. She's the babe for me. I liked her a lot. So Catwoman was my favorite, and it's funny that I was obsessed with Catwoman because Catwoman was actually inspired by cat goddess Bastet. And
Oh, really? I never knew that.
yeah, she was inspired by cat goddess Bastet, and there's certain sources that show the Catwoman, usually Selena Kyle or something like that, with a statue of Bastet or something relating to Bastet. So like in like different sources and different things, you'll sometimes see Catwoman with something Bastet related, whether it be her living room where it's got a cat goddess Bastet statue, or if it's just like a necklace with a cat on it. So she's Catwoman, but there's lots of references that get thrown in the comics or in the animated series that just even the live action movies that has Bastet that show up in there. So favorite villain. And then my very first body painting, because I did modeling for quite a bit, and I was always curious about body painting, but I was always afraid to do it because I had like major trust issues on like I'm going to get painted.
Right.
Painted.
It's pretty
like,
intimate.
You know what I mean? It's close proximity and all that stuff.
You have to
Hello,
be almost
Schmeds.
nude depending on how much you're doing it.
Schmeds, welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. And so, sorry, I lost track of what I was talking about.
Body paint.
Body paint. So yeah, when I finally found an artist that I wanted to work with, I actually ended up dating said artist for several years. When we met, he wanted to paint me, and he basically asked me for an inspiration for the painting that he was going to do with my body. And I'll show you guys a picture of this thing. He didn't have a hairstylist at the time, so we didn't get to do the hair like we wanted. So the hair wasn't done up because a lot of his artwork is like, well, older artwork. He doesn't do it as much anymore. He's got other focuses now. But in the very beginning of like his body painting thing, it's always body paint with amazing hair, like hair you've never seen before. And then sometimes some kind of fashion that gets added into it. So it's like adding elements to not just body paint where you're just like a nude model that's body painting, but they add extra substance to it, especially with the hair. But at the time his hairstylist was sick, so we didn't get to do my hair, but I wanted like cat ears with the Egyptian cut bob, but never got to do that. And
that would have been so cunty.
It was his first time painting a full body, and we probably did it for about 22 hours, and I was exhausted.
Oh, wow.
And so we did the black layer and then the gold layer, and then he wanted to add turquoise, which I wish I had enough energy to do the turquoise because I felt like the turquoise would have just tied it in together. But it was my first time doing body paint. It was his first time painting.
That's a long time.
Gold. Yeah, so it was like a 22-hour day of just doing this body painting shoot. And so he would paint, and then they would take photos of the progress of the painting, and then continue the painting, and so on and so forth. But by the time he wanted to start adding the turquoise, I'm just like, I got my second wind. My second wind is gone. I do not have a third wind. So
I have no more wind to give you.
No more wind to give you. So my very first body painting experience, she was the inspiration immediately. Like when he asked me if I wanted something inspired, my brain immediately went to like Bastet. I want to be painted with something inspired Bastet. So she's been, like I said, a special interest of mine forever. And so a couple things that also make me feel like she's with me is some of it's really, really, you know, it's fine. You know, um I am a, how do I say this? You know what? I'm just going to say it. I don't know why I'm so hesitant about it. But I am someone that is extremely fertile. How do I say this? Like, I have managed to get an ectopic pregnancy because of everything, and no matter what I do, like I've probably gotten pregnant twice in my life, and one time was with not a healthy relationship. Let's just leave it at that. And then another one is it was like literally an ectopic pregnancy that would have killed me if I kept it together. You know what I mean? So for me, one of the things with
Right.
cat goddess Bastet is she's also the goddess of fertility. So so every single time that there's something that like with my two experiences, it's just like, how did this happen? Like, of all the things that I did to deter this from happening, it still
Right.
managed to happen. And it's just like, how? So for me, it's just like, why? Why do you want to do this to my body? Stop it. No. So it's a long thing. So that's another thing that I'm like, that would explain if she's with me, of course, like, because she's the goddess of fertility. And I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but it's just like there's certain things that just line up with my mind since I've met her that I'm just like, I can see why I could be like, I was someone that she probably chose as a follower and just didn't hear her call until much later, you know? And
Right.
so
Or you just didn't realize it was her calling, right?
well, it's hard
Like, even
because
if,
like what is hard about spirituality is it's part intuition and part you know, part of your self journey, but at the same time it's really hard to hear certain things being sent your way because the way of communication isn't like I want food. It's like they send you some kind of signal or some
signs
kind
and
of
things,
sign
yeah.
so that you understand what's going to be like what's going to happen. So it's really hard to like to hear it. And when I started to open up myself to finding a goddess is when it started to be like bing bing bing. It's when, you know, I started hearing the pings in my head and I'm just like, oh, there it is, ding, makes sense. You know what I mean? It's such a it's a silly
Well,
journey.
plus, like you said, you were raised, you know, very Christian. That's not something that was like outwardly, you know, a given for you in that sense. You know, taboo even.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely like I was like I literally like there's many like there's like I dropped the Christian religion way over 15 years ago. You know what I mean? I stopped being someone that practiced religion, and for a while there I didn't believe in a specific religion, but I knew that there is like for me in my core I'm like there is a greater power because how can there not be? If I am someone that exists and a snail exists, a snail would not imagine that I would exist. You know what I mean? It's just like, how can there
Yeah.
not be? It's just life. The universe is endless. So for me, it's like, how can there not be? How can there not be someone greater in control of whatever path we go? You know what I mean? And
I can
so
understand that.
I wouldn't say that I was an atheist, but I just didn't have a religion to believe in. And that's how I came into like the more self search. And when you do some self searching is when it kind of opens you up to the world of Wicca. You know what I mean? Because that's when you kind of get more tapped into the source. And that's kind of how I started my journey is like, I know that I'm not an atheist because I know that there's a greater power out there. And then when I looked into myself and I'm all like, okay, now that I was taught witchcraft was really bad. I was taught that witchcraft was evil and this and that. And
Right.
how it's depicted in movies and shows where it's spells and curses and this and that.
Absolutely.
That's not really,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? That's not really what it
Not
is,
realistic, yeah.
actually. It's not even close to what that is. Yeah, there's some spells, but for me, I see spells as like intentions and purpose you are putting
Mhm.
out there and giving yourself a goal to strive for. So for me, that's how I see it. I don't know if that's how it works for everybody else, but
Well,
that's how
and I
it
find it
for me.
ironic that religions like Catholicism, shun witchcraft because of those practices that you do. The spell, when they do things so similar, you're consuming the body of Christ, you're consuming the blood. They do like the Ash Wednesdays and the smoke. Like there's a lot of like, pagan-esque practices in a lot of different religions, even though they shun other ones that do things very similarly. So,
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. The funny thing about that too is the fact that like most Christian religion, as much as I love pointing this out to a lot of people, if you're Catholic, you're polytheistic. You have more than one God. There is not like, yes, there's big God, but then you have the saints, and you have Mother Mary, and you have like you have all of these like different people in the Bible. These are demigods and or gods. Yes, they are quote unquote humans. Samson was a demigod. You cannot tell me that was not a demigod. Like, and then oh my god, and then like the whole thing about like hating on pagan holidays. Fun fact,
they're all pagan based.
Not only is it all pagan based, the Christian church had this very bad habit of going in, scrubbing an entire culture of the thing that made them like them, and then taking it for themselves.
We discussed this very, very, very.
Philippines.
Of
we
course.
Discussed this during the Manananggal episode. We definitely discussed how they came, conquered, destroyed anything sacred of that group's belief system, and destroyed it. Destroyed books, destroyed anything that like any kind of documentations about the religion that they practice. They burned it. Like they burned it because they're literally hammering their religion onto you, and that's we'll get more into that during
we're all gonna spiral.
We'll do this we'll talk about this during the Ghoulish Bites. We'll have a discussion about this in the Ghoulish Bites, because I have a thing that I put in the Ghoulish Bites that I'm saving for that. So let's get back into it. So who exactly is cock goddess Bastet? I keep talking about her and you guys still don't know exactly who she is. Okay, so she is actually the daughter of sun god Re. A lot of people know it as sun god Ra, but apparently it's pronounced Ray or Array or something like that. And for me, I was raised saying Ra, but apparently that's like a Americanized way of saying it. And so when I listen to how do you say it, it pronounced it as Ray or instead of Ra. So sun god Ray and the goddess Isis. So she is known by a lot of names. Cat goddess Bastet is known by a lot of names. She's known as Ubasti. She's known as Bast. She's known as Bastet. She's known as the Eye of Ra. She's also seen as the goddess of the moon, the goddess of the rising sun, and then so much more. So as you can see, we've already got a huge history of who the Bastet is, with all of her names and who her father is and who her mother is. She's a pretty prominent and powerful goddess, on top of her being the daughter of goddess Isis and sun god Re, she actually also has a sister who's a little bit more like an elder sister, and her elder sister's name is another goddess that has a following called Sekhmet. So some say that Sekhmet and Bastet are sisters, but others say that Bastet and Sekhmet are two sides of the same goddess. Is another way of people seeing it. So for me, I learned them as sisters, but as I do my research, I'm learning that she's more of like some people see Sekhmet and Bastet as like a dual, like it's
two
a duality.
faces. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
like a harlequin.
Yeah, and so she goes as far back as the 3rd millennium BCE. So she's about 5,000 years so she was worshipped about 5,000 years ago. So she's pretty, not only is she like she has a prominent and extremely powerful father and mother, but also she has been someone that's been worshipped
For a
5,000,
long
like,
time.
back in ancient Egyptian times. And so she was actually depicted a little differently in the very beginning of her journey. So at first she was actually depicted to look more like Sekhmet. Sekhmet is a woman with a lion's face. And Bastet was also a woman with a lion's face. But as she grew and changed to a new role, she then also changed from being a lion head to a cat's head. So she became a woman with a cat's head rather than a woman with a lion's head, like Sekhmet. It's also when she became softer and like Sekhmet is very like vengeful, bloodthirsty, and like she is like super aggressive. And Bastet's kind of went from being aggressive to now she has mellowed out and she has different things that she's responsible for now. But before, the reason she is actually known as a goddess of protection is that she was actually, there were stories told of her that her role was that she would go with sun god Re across the sky while he brought the sun across the sky, and she would ride with him and protect him while he did his journey. So during the daytime, it's also how she became known as the goddess of the sun, is because during the daytime, she would protect the sun god as he did his journey over the sky to give us light. And then at nighttime, while he slept, she would be awake and protect him while he slept. And that's how she became the goddess of the moon. So she
Love
became,
that.
yeah, so she's the goddess of the moon and the goddess of the rising sun because of the fact that her role is to protect Ra. And
Right.
so her role is to protect Ra when he worked and protect Ra while he slept. So she basically, that's what she did. And so that was her role. And so she eventually transitioned to from being a fierce protector to a more nurturing guardian. So Sekhmet is still like a fierce protector, but she became a nurturing guardian, but she's still extremely protective, but she's more like she is very protective of your home, and she's very protective of children and women. Like she prioritizes children and women in her work. So that's, oh my god, what's going on?
We love a feminist icon.
Hold on. My tired eyes. Okay. Okay. Tired eyes was gonna join the stream and I'm like, no, it's okay, tired eyes. No, I'm like, did you want to join us? Did you want to join us, baby? Because you can.
Hi, Tired. She knocked.
She knocked, and I was just like, I'm like, what is this? Sorry, you guys. Woo. Yeah.
It's all right, Tired. We love you.
Sorry, Tired
And
eyes.
with the,
Tired
oh, whoa,
eyes.
what's this?
Can we give her a shout out? I love you, baby.
Absolutely.
Hi, waifu. Oh my god, I love her so much. She's amazing. All right, so
Oh, you already did it. Well, double shout out for you, Tired.
yeah. So she was known as someone who went from being a nurturing guardian, and by then she became someone that protected your home from evil spirits, from illness. So she became a protector of home and all of that stuff. So she kept the home free of disease and free of evil intent or evil energies, you know what I mean? And she also nurtures families. She really cares about families, but like I said, she prioritizes women and children. And she does have an extremely vengeful side. So if a child or woman is done wrong, her more aggressive nature comes out, and she can be quite deadly, she is quite vicious when she needs to be, but she tries to be more nurturing. But if needed, she will come out and strike, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And due to the changes of her role, due to the change of her role becoming more nurturing, that's when her transition went from being a lion to a softer, feline, domesticated cat. And she became the one of the main reasons why cats became domesticated in ancient Egypt. And so, to help us understand why Bastet was so popular, she was so popular that there was actually a city that still exists to this day named after her called Bubastis. There's an actual city called Bubastis. And Bubastis actually had her temple, but when uh who took over the ancient Egyptians? Romans? I think the Romans, when the Romans finally took over.
Romans,
Yeah,
yes,
when
the
the
Romans took
Romans
over.
took over, they destroyed her temple. So there is still a place that you can visit in Bubastis, which is where her temple, but all you see now is the stones that have been toppled over and has been, damaged by the years. So they destroyed the different temples when they took over and all that stuff.
Awful.
So she had a temple in Bubastis, and that's where she had the largest following, was in Bubastis. And Bubastis actually, I don't know if they still do it, but they actually have a Bastet festival that they used to do. I haven't seen any updates as of 2023, 2022 maybe. Like, I don't know anything about the festivals. I guess it was too late for me to find it. But they would have a festival, and in these festivals back in the day, while women would come by, and there's like a boat apparently that they can come by to go towards there. Whenever they would come by, they would apparently like in celebration of Cat Goddess Bastet, women would flash
Ooh.
their divine V's to other celebrants. And so they did that because it was celebration of sexuality, but it was
Yeah.
also celebration of the power of women and the power of giving life into this world, the power
I
of
love it.
bringing life and bringing pleasure. You know what I mean? So for them,
I
they
absolutely love that.
they would flash that as like a little ode to her. It's
The
like
power play,
it's like
baby.
when you go to Mardi Gras and you flash your boobs, but there they just flash their
Right.
paws to show their empowered V to everybody.
I love it.
To be fair, if you think about it, best way to praise a pussycat is to show a pussy. Like,
That's right. Pussy good
Yep.
pussy.
mm-hmm. P
So
for P, anyone?
so I thought that was really cool. And I also love the
I
fact
love that.
that a lot of the followers of Bastet have a understanding and respect to the power of being female, of being a woman. Like,
Mhm.
they celebrate that. It isn't something that is like you are shamed for. It isn't. I like, for me, that's like one of, like, like, yes, women are sexual creatures too, and it's okay.
Yes.
It's actually quite beautiful that they are, and they are also powerful. They may seem soft,
They
but
create life.
they have the ability to be extremely powerful on top of being soft. They have the ability of being powerful. They have the ability of being nurturing, and they also can give life. And it's, they like it. And so in current climate, I am worshiping her even harder, because I wish that more people
Absolutely.
would give women the respect that they deserve. Because I'm not saying one gender is better than the other. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, for some reason, for a while there, women were not valued, and they should be, and they should
No.
be seen
And they're still not
as,
valued as they should be.
equals in their own
Mhm.
way. There's the power of
Absolutely.
masculinity and there's the power of femininity, and that's kind of what makes the world go. And so for me, it frustrates me that one power is trying to stump over the other power, and I'm like, no,
Right.
both have their own powers, and
And
both must
yeah.
respect each other's powers. Like, not one is better than the other, because they're they're supposed to complement each other, but then you're constantly
Right.
yeah.
Well, and historically speaking,
Ooh.
one's historically always tried to suppress you know, the
Mhm.
the femininity, women. So
And for
It's
me,
hard to not want to fight that.
yeah, and for me, I do consider myself a feminist, but I am not a feminist
Mhm.
in the sense that other people see feminists. Like, I am not a feminist that says men are bad, men are terrible. No, I am a feminist
No.
that feels like, yes, women should be like seen as equals as men. And for me, I'm a feminist in that sense. Like, if you do like I just feel like I'm a different kind of feminist, I guess. But some people see feminism as like something bad, as man hating, and I'm like, that is not
Well,
that's not what
I
it
think
is. You
that
know what I mean?
that
Hi,
view has
Ocean.
literally been pushed by radical males, you know what I mean, to make feminism look bad or seem bad, like, oh, they hate all men, which is simply not true. There are, of course, rad femmes, as they're called, extremists in any kind of
And
anything
to
ever, but
to be fair, some of those women that hate men, there's a reason for it. There's a
yes.
reason for it. If you don't want to be
Mhm.
hated as a species, don't do something, or as a gender, don't do something that will make them
Say
disassociate.
historically
You know,
speaking.
historically speaking, that has not been the case.
Yeah, there's been
Sorry.
a few solid reasons. Not that it makes it necessarily right. And I feel like a lot of times people take it as an all man thing when it's not meant to be an all man
It's not
thing.
an
It's
all
like,
or nothing. It's
yes,
hey, give us our piece and like see us as equals. That's all
I'm a
I
human
want. You
being.
know what I mean? I am also a human
Yes.
being with
Yes,
feelings.
I'm
I
also
am
human. Yes.
also a person that has
We're not
my
just
own
objects, yeah.
powers.
Mm-hmm.
So it just frustrates me. Okay, so we're gonna talk more
We'll
about
spiral.
this. Yeah, we're gonna talk more about this with foolish minds. Let's continue to Bastet. Sorry, but that's like one of the things that I just
It's gonna be a
I
very
it
feminist
just
heavy episode.
yeah, and in today's climate, I am not apologetic for that.
No.
So I am not
Nope.
apologetic for it being very heavy, because I'm not saying one race or one gender is better than the other. What I'm saying is we need to focus on
Who's being suppressed?
yeah. So I'm not trying to make anyone angry. I'm just saying it's going to be a heavy episode, and it's a witch episode, and it's going to be extremely heavy pro women, because
Oh,
women
always.
who were intelligent, women who broke out of the box, were seen as witches and burned because of this power dynamic of man versus woman. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
man being afraid to accept and see women as having power, so therefore they would cause them to, take away their power
Yes.
and torture them and kill them. So it's going to be an episode that's heavy in that, and I'm not apologetic for that, because we're going to be
Nope.
honest about it. And we're I have been a woman my entire life, and I have experienced a world of being a woman in this world, and
Yeah.
you
It's not built for us.
and you're going to be hearing me get really really sensitive, but
Ocean.
at the same time, I'm not apologetic for it, and I feel like it is important to be listened to and heard. So, just know that we're not coming in from hate or negativity. We're
No.
coming in from our heart and from our personal experiences in this world, and from, so it's our perspective, and we're not trying to be hateful or angry in any way, shape, or form, but there will
No.
be some anger that will come up, because there is some wrong things that happen to witches. There was treatment, so it's going to get that way, and you'll just have to get used to it, you guys. And like you have to be open to listening to a woman's voice, because we have been
Staying in the
muted
house.
for so long that yeah, it's going to come out a little bit here. So if I get passionate or spicy, just it's coming from the heart, and it's coming from the hurt, the experience that I've had of being a woman in this world. And I'm sure Miso is also going to get emotional. I'm sure Birdie is also going to get emotional. So it's going to
Yeah.
be because it's going to come from our experiences, and we're going to be tied deeply to this. So all right. So before we get into Cat Goddess Bastet, and like to before we continue with Cat Goddess Bastet, it's important to talk about the history of cats in Egypt. and how they became domesticated. So the closest ancestor to the domesticated cat in ancient Egypt is actually a cat called the African wildcat. But why did the and why did Egyptians decide to take these cats and decide to try and domesticate these cats? And so we're going to talk about that. There's actually evidence of cats being domesticated in ancient Egypt that goes as far back as 5,000 years ago. And like I said, Bastet was one of the main reasons why they became domesticated. There was actually a lot of goddesses that were cat women, or like related to like women and cats. Like it's just there's actually several, like I think there's like 3 goddesses, and so there's a reason why cats were domesticated, but Bastet's like one of the big reasons why they became domesticated. Right. And so cats were considered to be great companions. I still think they are. And they're very independent, and they're actually, and back in the day in ancient Egyptian times, they were valued because they were good at keeping illnesses and diseases from people's homes, because they would hunt mice, they would hunt snakes, they would hunt different pests that come in there, like different bugs. They would hunt them, and so they kind of kept your home safe from disease, because the things that bring in the disease they hunt and take care of. And but they were also believed to be guardians of the underworld. So they were believed to ward off evil spirits. And so actually in The Mummy, they make a reference to this where Imhotep tries to go and kiss her or something like that. And the cat enters the room and the cat hisses at him. So yeah, he's afraid of cats. Imhotep is afraid of cats. And it's because in the story, or in history, in ancient Egyptian history, cats were believed to be guardians of the underworld, and they would deter evil spirits from here because they didn't want to get sent back or banished. And so that's that. I think that it's funny that it's mentioned here, because it does make a mention in the Mummy movie that Imhotep is afraid of cats because he's a dead evil spirit. And so
yes, I love it.
Despite them becoming domesticated, cats were not seen as pets. See, unlike dogs, which they actually named, cats were actually never named. They were referred to specifically by the sound that they made, which was meow. So cats weren't called anything, they were called meows. So they didn't have a name, they were just called by the noise that they make, which is the meow.
I love that.
And actually,
it was straight up Pokemon logic.
It's actually the root of a very popular Egyptian cat breed called the Egyptian Mau. Yeah. So the Egyptian Mau. Yeah, there's an actual cat breed called the Egyptian Mau. And yeah. Oh, okay.
Succubus is excited.
That's not Succubus. I think that's Birdie.
Nope, sorry.
That's Birdie.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was Succubus playing Call of Duty up there.
No. So cats were never seen as pets, but they were seen as divine beings, and they were actually respected and even worshipped. And so it's probably why cats look at us and think they own us, is because we as humans definitely worship them back in the day. And that's why a lot of people that hate cats, because they think cats are so demanding, and so like they're unpredictable. And I'm just like, yeah, they were divine beings and seen as such, and so therefore they see as humans as
people,
as their worshipers in a sense. It's probably where it comes from, is because they were worshipped so much. And so because Bastet was associated with a lot of religious practices and rituals, they would have cats around, because these were seen as their sacred divine connection, as a sacred divine connection. And so because they were a part of these rituals, the pharaoh obtained cats as companions. And so the pharaoh had pet cats as companions, and they would allow the cats to roam freely in their home and walk on the dining room tables. And the pharaoh even allowed the cats to eat from his plate. Like if the cats were on the table and they saw something, he'd allow them to eat from the plate. So due to the pharaoh having cats as pets, but they were seen as as more of a sacred divine companion is what they were seen as by the pharaoh. So the pharaoh paid respects to the cats, and so therefore the rich eventually started to have pet cats, and then as the rich became get the rest of the Egyptians started to gain cats as their pets because the pharaoh had cats, and because of the fact that the cats protected their homes, Bastet became a very prominent figure and a very respected figure, especially in Bubastis, hence why they called it Bubastis. So that's the history that's a brief history of how cats became domesticated in ancient Egyptian is because of the fact that the pharaoh had pet cats and all of the people followed suit. And
The cats are like, you know what?
and
This is cool with me. I'll just make
but
myself at home.
like I said, cats were never seen as pets. They were never named,
Right.
and they were so respected and they were seen as a part of the family that when a cat passed away, cats would actually get mummified and buried
Mm-hmm.
and given as gifts back to the cat goddess Bastet. So
Oh,
actually,
poor babies.
a long time ago when I was like I said, it was a hyperfixation. I learned that Bastet, like some of her temples back in the day, had rose quartz as like a part of the decoration for her shrine for her shrines, but also some of the shrines that they found mummified cats that were placed there as offerings to her, and they mentioned that some of these cats were huge. Like some of them were small, but some cats were like extremely large. And so they would mummify cats and actually basically bury them like they would a human, not just like a pet. So cats
Right.
were a part of the family and mummified.
Highly respected. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, once they passed, they would be, basically offered back to the goddess. So she was a worship deity more commonly known in Lower Egypt. And like I said, her shrines often used rose quartz, which was a stone of emotional healing, love, and compassion. And people used to offer the mummified cats to her shrine. They would offer cat amulets, they would offer perfume oils, they would offer jewelry and trinkets that symbolize her role as a protector of women and cats. Like the Ankh is a common thing that is actually paired with her. And she's actually known as the goddess of music as well. And she is often depicted with a sistrum. If you guys don't know what a sistrum is, it's this like tool that was used for a lot of sacred practices. And it's like a crossbow. The way it's built, it's like a crossbow, but then it has like two different things. I think the closest instrument nowadays that I could say to it, it's very similar to a what does Esmeralda use? That thing.
Lute?
No,
Oh,
Esmeralda.
tambourine.
A tambourine. I think the tambourine is the closest, but it's a little different. So it's shaped like a U, and then it has like two rods in it, and in those two rods they have these coins. And so when you shake this little
Sounds very
sistrum,
familiar.
it would like have the coins hit, and that's how you'd make music with this tool. And so she was often depicted with a sistrum in her hand and then an ankh in the other. So that so a lot of her depiction, like a lot of her things, like she was connected to the ankh and to the sistrum because it was kind of a part of how she was envisioned or seen in ancient texts. And so people that do practice witchcraft or Wicca now and practice their spirituality and choose goddess as their goddess, yeah, so like I said, Bastet and witchcraft. She's known as the protector of family and home. She's also associated with fertility, childbirth, good health, music, and of course, sexuality and pleasure. And she's also
Sounds like a great
seen
time,
as
man.
both the goddess of the sun and moon. And the reason she's depicted as the goddess of fertility is because cats, when they would give birth, they were always like, they usually gave birth to more than one. And so they were seen
Yeah.
as fertile creatures. And so because she was part cat, a lot of people associated her with fertility because of the fact that cats have multiple babies in a litter. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
She continues to be a source of power and insight for many witches like me. And she's actually a pretty relaxed and chill goddess to work with. Like I said, she does prioritize working with women and children, and she's really great for protection. But she's also kind of naughty and playful. So she can be she has no moments where she'll mess with you. She'll like one of the things that she's done to me is she's made me paranoid before. Like she's made me super paranoid and I know she's fucking with me. So like it's just her. She gets naughty sometimes and she likes to mess with you sometimes. But dual nature.
Just like a cat,
Just
know?
like a cat. And she loves to get gifts of perfumes. She loves books as gifts. So my shrine actually has several books. It's got several scented candles and several stones on her shrines. So I have certain things on her shrines right there. So she loves perfume, she loves books, she loves to get gifts of catnip. And she likes it even better if it's homegrown catnip. So, you can give her offerings of catnip if you would like. Cat statues. She also likes cat toys or cat trinkets. I have a box in front of her shrine that actually has the paw prints and the paw prints of my cats who's passed away. And I have whiskers that I've saved from the different cats that I have that's inside the box as well. And then the fur from one of my cats after Luna. I have Luna's fur in there. So I have certain things inside of a box that are related to the cats that I've had that I've loved. And so they're in that box in the shrine with her. And
I don't think you
so
see them, but I have some of my cat's whiskers. I collect them too.
I
anytime she
collect
loses one, I'm like,
whiskers.
give me the whiskers.
I have a box, and in my box, I have a whisker for Luna, I have a whisker for Titus, and I have a whisker for Ozzy. I don't have a whisker for Poppy yet, but we'll get a whisker from Poppy eventually.
We'll
But
get that
yeah,
whisker.
and then I have a beautiful, beautiful blue-gray whisker from Ash. It's like this long. It's about this long, and it's this beautiful blue-gray like whiskers. So I have whiskers in my box for her.
Love it.
Aside from like offerings on her thing, one of the ways you can, pay, like you can show to show some love or service to her is actually if you have a pet cat and you take care of your cats. If you show love to your pets, if you make time to play with your cat, if you make time to make sure you give your cat extra love, that's a way of also honoring her. And like I said, she likes getting catnips, and she likes catnip a lot. And you guys, you know what the equivalent of catnip for humans are, right?
Oh yes.
Of course.
Who is obsessed with said things?
Of course.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know, but I am obsessed.
I don't know.
I am obsessed with the human version of catnip. If you guys didn't know, I partook. If you didn't know, but you guys probably see me all the time on my on my streams and stuff like that. And so if you're in a journey of self-discovery and you're looking for a goddess to work with and you absolutely love cats and you find it interesting, I feel like maybe you should look her up and see if you can find a connection with her and see if she's someone that you want to work with. Like I said, she's very nurturing, she's very kind, she's very chill. She's also she's very protective and she can be very vengeful. So if you're someone that does harm to women and children, I wouldn't recommend contacting her at all. I'm just saying, don't even.
If you hate cats, don't do it.
Don't do it. Just don't. Just yeah. But if you're
also don't hate cats, what's wrong with you?
If some of the things that I mentioned aligns with you, I suggest giving her a try. I think you might find her to be someone that is wonderful to work with, and I have felt more confidence in myself since getting connected to her, because one of the things is showing yourself self-love, because you have to value yourself like she values you. So having to focus on loving myself is a great experience, and I've done it a lot this year, and
Proud of you.
And I'm really proud of that growth. And like I said, she's done really well for me, and I'm just mad that it took me this long to actually hear her and start working with her, because I wish I could give you guys more insight on what it's like to work with her. And like I said, if you just are curious, give her a shot, give her a listen. She's very, very popular, and she's like people that know her. All right. So like I said, in the media. There's a city named after her called Bubastis, which they used to have the festival. And she also had a temple. And one of the elements that they found in her temple was that it was made out of red granite, was one of the materials that they could find that from there. And like I said, you can still visit the ruins of her temple. So maybe someday I'll be able to make it there and be able to just visit that. And then, like I said, my first time working with a body painter was a painting of her, and she was inspired by she inspired Catwoman into existence. So it's really cool. And some of the stories of Catwoman goes into the origins of her connection with Catwoman with Bastet or Bast. And a Bastet statue was actually displayed in the Mummy movie. And she's a playable character in the Smite game. If you guys wanted to play Smite,
Yes,
she's
she
one of the
is.
characters that you can play on Smite.
Mhm.
And she's a deity in the world of Dungeons and Dragons. So
Yes, she is.
yes, she is. Let me go ahead and give you guys a little picture slideshow
Little look-see here.
of Cat Goddess Bastet. Like, I'll show you pictures of her, different depictions of hers, if I can get the right screen open. So hold on, let's go to this. Is this the right screen? I gotta open you up. Are you working? There we go. Okay, let's move you over here. All right, so can you guys see it?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so these are this is just the hieroglyphs that's shown there. This is the hieroglyph for Bastet and the Ankh. I just wanted to show you guys that. And then this one is this is on a side of a temple. I guess I can't make it, like, slideshow is just cutting off. Maybe I can make it. How do I make it full screen? Hold on, you guys. I'm sorry. I don't want it to crop anything, so you guys can see the whole effect. Sorry. I'm fixing it right now so that you guys can see the whole thing. Okay.
There you go, because that looks pretty good.
There we
I
go.
think.
Okay,
I don't
so
know.
let's
Yeah, there you go.
So let's go back. So, like I said, this is some hieroglyphs from her, and then this is like an actual depiction of her on a temple. And these are different forms. So she's sometimes depicted as a cat form, but she's also sometimes depicted in her human form right here. And this was the painting that I was talking about that I did with Eye Level Studios, the artists. And this was this was the piece that we were going to do that was for Bastet, and we never got to do the hair. But like I said, if you look at the details in this painting, you can understand why it took so long for this piece, because like I said, it was his first full body, and it was my first time like doing body painting, and it was like 21 hours. So it's a pretty intense.
It's amazing, honestly.
Yeah, it's a pretty intense
beautiful.
piece. So that was me when I was like 20. I think I was 19 or 20 in this picture. Oh my god.
It's really good. And you're stunning, of course.
And then these are the different Catwomans as okay, I need to move you, my dear birdie. Birdie, you are.
I loved Eartha as Catwoman, first of all.
Where is my birdie? Oh, there's my birdie. Let me move you.
I'm right
birdie.
here. What do you mean?
I'm moving you away. I'm just moving you away from the middle of the picture. So these are the different Catwomans that we've had in movies and TV shows. So we've got the original all the way to the current right here. So we are going to start with the amazing Julie Newmar with a Bastet statue that she is cradling in her hand.
Love it.
So she's got the Bastet tats. Eartha Kitt says is the best Catwoman, says Baguette. Yeah. So Julie Newmar.
Thank you.
So we've got good old Julie Newmar here with the Bastet statue. Then we've got Lee Merriweather with the statue of Bastet right there. Then you've got Eartha Kitt.
Love her.
God.
You're such a fucking badass, dude.
Oh my goodness. And she's kind of the one that kind of started the purring talk. Like she's the one that started the purring talk for Catwoman. So she had like the purr. And yeah, I love Eartha Kitt. Look at her. And this is her with her cats. And then we've got, of course, my favorite is Michelle Pfeiffer. Because God,
she was pretty badass too.
Look at that cat suit. Oh, I gotta move. Have
you ever seen the footage of her behind the scenes whipping the mannequin heads off?
Yeah, where they clapped for her. Oh yeah. Maybe I should just turn off our models. I'm just gonna turn off our models while we do this so that people can can see the full
That's fair.
effect.
I feel like that's fair.
Because it's in the way. All right, so we've got the amazing Michelle Pfeiffer, of course. And then we've got Halle Berry, who I thought she looked beautiful as Catwoman. It's just she actually won what's the name of the award? Where
Razzie.
she won a Razzie because of how bad this movie is.
And she
But
went
I
and took it, yeah.
personally don't believe that it was due to her. I believe that the writing
It wasn't
was just,
her. The
I
writing was
It was the
believe
writing.
the writing was
was the
terrible, and the
writing.
writing didn't do
Mhm.
her justice. But I thought she looked beautiful as Catwoman.
I feel like her sass in that role, like the way she went from like meek to like sexual, her sexuality. I think she did really good.
oh yeah,
in
her
that sense.
transformation was crazy. It's
Like,
Patience
yeah,
Phillips.
she did super good. Yeah,
Yeah, she's known as Patience Phillips in this one instead of Selena Kyle.
it's not her fault.
But yeah, so
It's not her fault that bad writers are bad writers.
Yep.
Yeah,
And then we've got Anne Hathaway as Catwoman, which I never bothered to watch, you guys, because I did not think Anne Hathaway
she didn't
was
do bad.
Catwoman.
She didn't do bad,
No.
but she definitely wasn't my
No.
favorite. That's for sure.
No.
Honestly, they lost a lot of the cat theming, and it was mostly just Anne Hathaway's ass.
Yeah, I'm just.
And it was more there
She
wasn't
looks
a lot of
great.
Catwoman-esque to her. Like it was kind of just like actiony, if that makes
Yeah,
sense. Like it wasn't really
I was disappointed with this one.
flushed out.
I was disappointed
Yeah.
with this one for sure.
Mhm.
And then we've got the Gotham TV show. We've got young Selena Kyle, which is done
Never
by
seen that
Cameron Brycondova, and I think she's the girl that did the Twilight. I don't know if she's the one that did Twilight. I don't know. She looks like her kind of.
But
And
she's
then-
very pretty.
And then Lily Simmons is the older Selena Kyle. So in the Gotham series, she's got a young version and an older version, and so it's played by two different actresses, Cameron Brycondova and Lily Simmons. And then, of course, the most recent Catwoman is Zoe Kravitz in the new
Haven't got to see her
Batman
either.
series. And I think she looks
Love that dress.
gorgeous in it. I love that they brought her bisexuality more in the forefront in this film because she is actually known as a bisexual character. And so it's really
Yes.
great to see
Absolute
Both-
bicon.
both her interest in
I love Bicon.
in the
It's
new
amazing.
in the new movie. So she looks great. I love this cat dress that she's wearing. The cat
That dress is
Absolutely.
Oh my
amazing. Yes.
god, she looks so beautiful. And this is her in the Mummy. So you can see the cat statue
Yes.
So Anoxinamun.
Oh,
Speaking of being
yeah.
bi,
Yeah, so Anoxinamun was
My
standing
bi
next
awakening.
to it in this entire movie was a bi awakening. for
yes.
many
I was like,
people.
man, everyone here is hot. Well, I'm pansexual, but you get it. Either way, I was like, oh,
Well, Pan is under the bi flag. It's just a little
Umbrella,
more
yeah.
broad. So it's in the bi umbrella.
yeah,
So, but yeah, this was a lot of people's bi awakening for sure. It's got such
so much.
a hot cast. And yeah, so they like when I saw the statue, and I'm like, it's Bastet. I was so excited. So, you know.
God, she's so good looking in that movie.
Oh yeah. I actually try to do my makeup to kind of try and like do a version of my makeup
your
to
makeup
match
is
hers, and that's why my
fabulous.
makeup looks the way it does today. I was inspired by Anoxinamun. And this
Speaking
is her
of body
in the
paint.
Spite game. Yeah, body painting.
Yes,
Yeah.
I have run her a few times in Smite. Not very
Mhm.
good with her, but she's a lot of fun to play with. I think she's an assassin, I want to say.
Mhm.
And that
All I know is that I
was-
prefer Medusa.
Yeah, so that was Bastet. Is there like I like I said, I didn't know how to end it because I'm still in my journey with her. So
Mhm.
it's like I don't know how to end it if my journey is still ongoing. You know, my journey is still ongoing with her. I'm still learning. But you know, I kind of gave you a focus on it on like that. I didn't put too much focus on her history, like the fact that she was married and she has a kid and all that stuff. I didn't want to get into that. I also don't want to get into the fact that she is often paired with Anubis, but it's kind of weird because Anubis and her they have the same mother at one point. I think Isis is the mother
Yeah,
for both of
yeah.
them. So for
There's
me,
a lot
I'm
of
kind of
incest going on
I'm
in the
kind of
Egyptian
like
pantheon.
I don't
That's
like
most of
that
them,
thing.
right?
Yeah, and a lot
That's
of
most pantheons.
yeah, that is. But see, I tried to do my makeup like an Oxydamoon. You can kind of see it.
It's so
Also,
good.
love it. It's fantastic.
Yes.
I tried, you guys.
You're so good at blending. I can't blend.
And so that was Bastet. Is there anything that I missed that I should probably cover for you guys that you guys know about her? Have you ever heard of her? Obviously, it seems like you guys have.
Oh, I've definitely heard of her, but no, you brought some information that I wasn't aware. I was like, I knew that cats kind of like, I knew they were worshipped there. I knew they kind of domesticated themselves, but also brought in because they were worshipped. But I wasn't aware how respected they were. And I also love hearing your impersonal, experiences with it.
Honestly, the only thing that I would say, honestly, like the only thing I know best from most is the Kane Chronicles series of books by Rick Riordan. She plays a very key role in the books, actually, ironically enough, and it's fantastic. However, they do have art, which I will send. I can't throw it up on stream, but you can.
Yeah, I can. You can send it, and we'll probably show it during the
And I
Ghoulish
did.
Fight segments. Okay.
Oh, it's very
Oh wait,
interesting.
you already
It's in the
have it.
side
You already
chat.
have it. Oh shit! Hold on.
Yeah, it's in the side chat.
It's kind of giving
Hold
oh
on.
my gosh, what's that
Hold on.
show with all the cat people?
You put it in the side chat. You said?
Cats.
No, not cats.
Yeah.
It's a cartoon.
Oh, that is beautiful. Oh my god. Okay, there we go. Let me go ahead and go back into closing that. Sorry, guys. It's probably a mess right now. Where's my OBS? There we go. Okay, let me show it. So this is the series?
Yes. It's part of the Kane Chronicles, written by Rick Riordan. Bast. So essentially, she is kind of like, the best way I could describe it is she is the Dumbledore to these characters in a way. Like, she's the reason why they
She's
eventually
like-
get into the
she's
Egyptian
like-
world.
She's all like, you guys, you need to be there right now. I gotta find a way of directing you to where you need to be, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Like, she's just
She's like, I'm moving
y'all
the
need
puzzle
to get
pieces.
better.
Puzzle
Yeah.
pieces move. God, let me do my job. But
Right,
yeah, I'm
like-
excited to actually send me a link of the book series. I'll probably give a read for that one for sure.
Oh, absolutely. It's a 3-book series, and I love it. And I love it so much.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with my shrine for her. I think my shrine for her is beautiful. My husband actually just added to my shrine without me even knowing. He added an instrument. He added an instrument without even knowing that she, like, I haven't given him the details.
I love
But
it.
he added a little drum instrument to her shrine for me. That's cool.
Nice.
I just realized that he had, like, Ginger.
I love it.
Because he
But
was.
say good ginger.
Yeah, he apparently he added to my shrine.
He knows what's up.
Yeah, he put the drum there, which is cool. Okay.
He knows what's good.
Yeah, so he got a drum from Baguette and Trey.
Yes, I would say I know exactly
Yeah,
which one.
He put it on the shrine. It's with my stuff on the shrine right now. So
Hell yeah.
Yeah, Trey was sitting there going do 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 do. They're walking around.
Alright.
So
So that was Bastet. I hope I gave you guys enough information about her. Like I said, I struggled with my notes because I have been going through a lot of things lately and doing a lot of. I've been so separated from my computer. I've been spending so much time.
that's how I
outdoors
felt. Yeah.
That I've just been so separated from my computer that I haven't been able to do as much research as I'd like, do more notes as much as I like, especially being who I am. You guys know how my notes look. You guys know my notes are always insane. So for me,
I
like,
also know that you're beating yourself up when you don't need to, because you did great.
Britter's
Stop it.
Bear says, my wife.
My wife,
Your wife?
my wife, my
wife.
waifu.
All right.
I'm spoiled.
So let's go ahead and run this ad and do a quick break. My mic's having issues. I need to update my computer. But yeah, welcome back, you guys. We're winding down right now. We're getting the rest of the people to come back into the VC so we can continue on. But yeah, we've got Birdie coming up next for her topic, and I'm really excited to hear about.
What? Did we just become best friends?
Hey, Papa Cortra, thank you.
Hi,
for that.
Cortra.
Appreciate you, Papa. I got to play some Fortnite with him yesterday, and it was a lot of fun. And I
That's
hope to play with him
good.
again. Yeah, I love playing with Papa. I rarely get to hang out with him now, so whenever we play Fortnite together, it's like the highlight of the week because it's. I miss him on my Tuesdays. You got your kitty cats?
Yeah, she's down here. Oh, you want to be a special little star? You want to be a star?
All right, so, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and continue.
She doesn't want to be a star right now.
She's like, no. Let's go ahead and continue on. We've got Birdie, who's going to be talking about the Salem witch trials next for her topic, and I'm actually really, really excited because I know a lot about this topic, but there's also a lot that I don't know about this topic, and there's also a lot of misinformation about this topic. So I'm excited to hear Birdie's version of everything.
Typical.
So you guys, like I said, this is our witchiest episode yet. All of our topics are related to something witchy, and yeah, this is the big one.
Spoogity.
Oogity spoogity. Boo! Oh, okay. And do you guys like my Bastet shirt? I forgot to show you guys my
I love it.
I meant to tell you that.
I love your
earlier.
shirt.
And then my little medallion that I got for her. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Heck yeah.
It's a gold medallion, but you can kind of see her in her cat form and her human form right there.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful medallion. I love it so much. But yeah, I got a little medallion for her in my little shirts. I was gonna wear like the Petrify the Patriarchy shirt with Medusa on it, but I'm like, I can wait till next time. I'm gonna wear my Bastet shirt.
I would say that one just goes so perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's got the Ankh and then the Eye of Ra right here, and yeah, there's the scarab beetle as well. So it's a good one. And then I'm getting my thigh tattooed probably in November or October, September, October. I'm getting my thigh tattooed with her, so she's gonna be on my thigh. That's gonna be the best.
I appreciate that.
So I'm excited for it. All right, Birdie.
Okay.
It's your turn. You get to talk. Okay, I'm gonna shut up.
Fantastic. All right. So, for those of you who are unfamiliar with who I am, or who are familiar with me but kind of need the refresher, I am Birdie. I also go by Grim. I am also known as GrimBirdie. Obviously, I look like a dog for reasons which I will get into. First off, none of you know what most people don't know what a church grim is, and if they do, they only know it from Harry Potter. JK can go suck a toad. Anyway, so the church grim.
Hold on. You mentioned her. Mm-hmm. I got rid of her tattoo. I got rid of my Deathly Hallows tattoo. You guys can see it. It's healing still, but it's the Deathly Hallows tattoo is gone. It's now a poppy. A red
Can't
poppy.
blame me there.
Yeah.
I'm with you, baby.
Heck yeah. So let's get started. So first things first, the first thing you all need to know is that this was during not only the colonial ages, back when America was first getting settled, but this was also during a time when in Europe witch hunts were rampant. Now, what classified a woman as a witch? Literally anything and everything. You are a woman who just decided, oh, it's a little hot today, so I'm gonna hike up my skirt just to let a little bit of air in. Witch.
Ankle.
Burnt. Killed. You're being a hussy. Like it was insane.
We were watching Pirates 5 yesterday, and because the girl could read, everybody was all like, "Witch."
Yep.
Witch. Yeah.
Yep. Knowledge, especially knowledge.
Women with knowledge.
Knowledge.
Witch.
Oh god. Knowledge and power. Those are the two things that classified a witch. Now, here's the thing. Witchcraft in Europe was there were a lot of witch trials, and to this day there are still some. However, the height of the witch trials was in the 16th and 17th centuries. During these 2 centuries, there were many ways that they would test for witches. However, because we're covering the Salem witch trials, I'm going to clarify some things for people. The Salem witch trials was mostly people who were poor. I need to clarify this. I need you to I need y'all to understand the people within Salem, Massachusetts, were not rich. They were farmers. They were these were farmers. These were people who tilled land, who built houses. They did not have money. They were not rich. They were not educated. The few that could read were the magisters and magistrates that kind of ran most of the government at the time.
Yep.
Now, so the entirety of the Salem witch trials happened roughly around, roughly in between, roughly in a 1 year time span. In total, however, it lasted, let's see, February, March, April, February, March, April, May, June. No, sorry, February, March, April, May. It lasted 16 months in total. To clarify, you could have had a baby and a half at that point when the Salem witch trials were happening. Now, colonial Massachusetts, poor people, not rich whatsoever, mostly filled with Puritans. Now, for those of you who don't know what a Puritan is, or who do know what a Puritan is, see, Puritans are Puritanism, puritanical people had this belief that you had to remain 1000% pure and godly to get into heaven. I'm not talking like Quakers. I'm not talking like Jehovah's Witness. I'm talking if you even breathed wrong, you were going to hell. Right? These people were crazy
Hardcore, yeah.
for their time. And so these people were quite literally, the Puritans separated themselves from the rest of the church at the time, which was insane when you were part of a colony.
Right.
And so they literally separated themselves and became their own little thing called Salem, Massachusetts. Now, Salem, or Salem Town, which was the regional center, was a bunch of towns all together that made one giant township. So kind of like how nowadays you have New York with all of its boroughs, you have Queens, you have the Bronx, you have all of that. That is what Salem was. Salem had Andover. They had sorry, I'm dealing with lung problems. So Salem had places like Andover and Topsfield and multiple different towns, which all made up one giant township. Now, to start this off, I want you all to get into this mindset of what is the worst thing that can happen when children get power?
Oh no. We already have a child that has power. It's not going great.
If that's not the fucking truth.
Accurate. So essentially what ended up happening was, at this time, right? At this time, this puritanical group, right? It is 1692. Over 400 years ago, or roughly 400 years ago. It's 1692, and people across America were trying to settle and make a life for themselves and prove that, hey, we really can rough it in America, rough it in the New World.
Right.
And so many different towns built up and were torn down, and communities grew and dissolved. But this one wasn't great. So this township, in this township, there was the Puritans believed in a lot of crazy things, but one of the things that they did believe in was that women, specifically, were far more susceptible to the devil than men. That women were inherently weaker to the devil's temptations.
I think that
Now that
the bias for that comes from biblical.
It's such a heavy theme.
From
Yeah.
biblical standing
yes.
because of the fact that Eve was the one that
Eve-
fell for the apple.
Absolutely.
But hey, guess what? Women don't have Adam's apples. Men do. Maybe someone else took a bite of the apple and blamed it on someone else.
Who knows?
Just saying.
So essentially, one of the things was back in 1668, 30 years before all of this went down. Well, roughly 20 to like 30 years before all of this goes down. A man by the name of Joseph Glanville writes a book called Against Modern Sadducism, in which he claims that he can prove the existence of witches and ghosts of the supernatural realm, right? And what he wrote about was the denial of bodily resurrection and the supernatural spirits. Basically, in this entire book, he wrote that that smart men should believe that witches and ghosts exist. Because if they doubted that, then not only did they deny demons, but also denied God. He essentially turned their fervor and their religion against them and basically said, if you don't believe in demons, then you can't believe in God. Because you can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
Now,
it's the balance of good and evil. That's
exactly.
It's the balance.
And then but the thing was, Glanville was also kind of crazy. He also said that those who denied those ideas, who denied ghosts, were heretics. And because of that, they should not be listened to. So, of course, in puritanical America, they immediately were just like, yeah, no, if you don't believe in ghosts, you're not a Christian. You don't believe in our religion? Automatically failure. Now, here's the thing. At the time, King James II brought in Sir Edmund Andros around 1684 as the governor of the Dominion of New England, which basically meant he was the governor of America, right?
Yeah.
Andros was then ousted in 89, 5 years later, after the Glorious Revolution, in which England replaced the Catholic James II with Protestants William and Mary. Now, there were a lot of things that happened during the time. There was the King Philip's War. There was a whole bunch of other stuff. However, what we now know as Danvers, Massachusetts, which originally was Salem Village, was very fractious. I've seen maps from 1692. They broke up this land in like puzzle pieces. They basically said, this is my claim, this is mine, this is mine.
Right.
You can't step over it without being in somebody else. Like you could walk about a mile and end up in somebody else's town. Like
So
it
typical.
was not a great time.
Right.
Now here's the thing. There was a time, so during this time, around 1689, mind you, this takes place in 1692 to 1693. Around 1689, a few years before that, 2 books were released roughly around the same time. One of these books in particular, written by Cotton Mather, was titled Memorable Providences Relating to Witchcrafts and Possessions. And he describes oracular observations and stupendous witchcraft which affected the children of Boston. Now, Mathers illustrated how Goodwin's eldest child had been tempted by the devil and stolen linens from the washerwoman, and how Glover, an Irish Catholic, was characterized as a disagreeable old woman and described by her husband as a witch.
Because of sheets?
Yeah, because of sheets.
Fucking
Because
nonsense.
of fucking sheets. God.
And
It's the pettiest shit,
yeah.
bro.
And because this child stole sheets from her, and because this child stole sheets, the parents and the parents and the government at the time grabbed this kid and were like, "Why did you do it? Why did you steal? Why did you betray us? Why did you go to the devil?"
Maybe
and the
it's
kid
because
looked
she
at them and was just like,
starved and
"It's
cold.
because of her, the Irish Catholic. She possessed me
no.
to do so."
Oh boy, I love the accent.
And so and so eventually, right, at first the children said it. Like that one child said it. The first kid did it. And then all of Goodwin's children, all of the rest of his kids, fell along in step with their eldest sibling. She did it! She's the witch! They started having fits, shaking, trembling, screaming out in public.
So did they just pretend that they were possessed by a witch because they were scared little kids?
Yes.
Oh, my heart. I was told it was moldy bread. Apparently I'm wrong. Go on.
Hold on. This happened this happened a few years before.
Okay.
But this was all written down in a book by a man, and this was published and used as proof.
Okay.
Now, these children also claimed that they would have neck and back pains from the witch. That the reason they were sticking their tongues out at other kids was because of the witch.
Oh Lord.
The reason why they screamed in public for no reason, because of the witch. The reason why they would flap their arms like a bird, stimming like an autistic child, because of the witch.
I'm gonna say it's easy to blame. It's like blaming your invisible friend.
Literally, why did you stab your brother? The witch told me to.
Right.
Okay.
Well, Slenderman also told some kids to stab some people. Okay, can we stop telling kids to stab people?
I'm gonna bring that up later. Hold on. No spoilers. Hush. Stop. So these symptoms, right? Like this one story fueled the mania that happened within this one 16-month period. Now, in Salem Village, right? It's February 1692. The snow is still falling. It hasn't let up yet. These kids are bored. They're tired. They're stuck inside all day. And Betty Paris and Abigail Williams, Betty age 9 and her cousin age 11, both daughter and niece respectively of Reverend Samuel Paris, begin to have fits. And the Reverend goes and finds the doctor and is like, "Doc, what's going on with my kids?" And the doctor comes over and he's just like, "Well, this can't be epilepsy. I mean, they're going crazy. This can't be epilepsy." And so the doctor goes and says, "Hold on. It's not just it's not epilepsy. It can't be epilepsy. But oh no. It can't. There's no other natural diseases in my book of doctoring
Oh
that can
no.
explain this. Now, John Hale, he was the minister of a nearby town called Beverly, was also the doctor because at the time ministers were essentially doctors, right?
Of course.
Because they
Jeez,
did
man.
doctorates
Never
did
goes
not
well.
exist yet.
The
So
thing-
the girls, so the girls were so the girls literally this is written down in an account. I forget which book, but I remember reading it. It was in the written account, the symptoms that these girls showed were them screaming, throwing things, making weird noises like children do, crawling under the furniture, turning themselves into human pretzels for no reason.
Right.
And
They
according to
sound like
eyewitness,
kids. They just sound like
it's
kids with
just
a lot
kids
of
being
energy.
kids.
They just sound like
Well,
kids.
kids being fed nonsense and feeding into that, you know.
Yeah, but they sound like they're
So,
just being
mhm.
kids, to be honest.
Right? So Reverend Diodot Lawson was the one who saw this. He was a former minister of Salem at the time. He saw this and wrote it down, right? And so they asked the girls, they're like, why are you doing this? What's going on? And the girls kept complaining that they felt like they were being pinched and stabbed with pins and needles. And the doctor, which a lot of people assume was William Griggs at the time, could find no physical proof that they were getting stabbed or poked or pinched or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these two sparked almost like a trend with the children. Other young girls started doing this.
Yep.
They started having the same outburst, doing the same thing.
Okay,
And so,
I'm just thinking because they keep on complaining about pinching and all that stuff. And part of me is all like, did some people get blamed for witchcraft because of bed bugs? Because I'm starting to think that. I'm starting to think that
it could have been bed
Oh.
bugs or ticks, but they couldn't find any bites. They couldn't find any proof of bugs.
okay.
So
Mass hysteria, brother.
so eventually, uh, when Diodot Lawson came over to Salem to preach as a guest in the meeting house, these young women would just start screaming. They would just scream for no reason or do weird things because they're kids and they're bored. And Mr. Lawson saw this and was like, this is not normal of children in our day and age. They shouldn't be doing all of this. And so he goes and so him and a few of the other preachers and the doctors grab these kids. Mind you, I need to preface, remember, the youngest kid at this point is 9.
And then the oldest is how old?
11. They are 2 years apart, 9 and 11, and multiple other girls about the same age range are doing the same things.
Okay.
So they grab these children, bring them into a room where they are surrounded by grown men holding canes and swords and axes and wearing armor. And these men are men that are respected in their community, that hold power over them and their mothers. And they're asked, what is going on with you? And at the time, it was a very popular story of an entire family of kids going crazy and acting out because of a witch. So they go and they accuse the first 3 people of witchcraft. Now, the first 3 people accused
I want to know why they were accused too, but go on.
were Sarah Good,
Okay.
Sarah Osborne, and Tituba. I believe I'm saying that right.
Tituba.
Right.
Tituba.
Tituba.
Tituba. Yeah.
Now, some people believe that the accusation by Ann Putnam Jr. was because of a family feud, right? Because there was a huge feud between her family and the Porter families, which polarized most of Salem, right? Like most of Salem was either Team Porter or Team Putnam, but people theorize that she could have done it because of that, or because she just had a convenient scapegoat.
Right.
Now, eventually, Sarah Good was accused because of her reputation. You see, she was poor. She was poor. And so because she was poor, she didn't own good clothing. She couldn't afford to live the Puritan lifestyle. And because of that, the Puritans thought that she scorned their ideals. And so during her trial, she was accused of rejecting the Puritan ideals of self-control and discipline when she chose to torment and, quote, scorn children instead of leading them towards the path of salvation.
Nonsense.
Now, exactly. Now, Sarah Osborne was accused because she didn't really go to church. She mostly stuck to herself and lived by herself.
I don't blame her.
And
Yeah,
she,
especially in this kind of environment.
she lived by herself with her husband, who was an indentured servant of her old husband. And so she very rarely went to church, and the Puritans believed that she did it because of her own self-interests. Because when she remarried the indentured servant, she kept trying to control her son's inheritance from her previous marriage. She is the widow, and she was controlling the inheritance, as the woman of the house should do. But witch, okay.
Whoever blamed her as a witch wanted her money. Whoever blamed her as a witch wanted her money. That's the reason why they blamed her.
Now, Tituba's a different story. Now, here's the thing about Tituba. For some context, Tituba was a slave.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that I need to preface. Yeah. For those of y'all listening, Tituba was a slave. She was not a Puritan woman. She was not liked in their society. In fact, she was looked down upon by everyone. The thing was, not only was she a slave, she was from the West Indies. She was from South America. She did not speak English, and if she did, it was very little.
Right.
Now, the thing is, Abigail Williams and Betty Paris basically claimed that Tituba had lured them in with tales from a book called Malleus Maleficarum. Now, Malleus Maleficarum was a book written by I believe it was written by an Englishman, which, for context, no, it wasn't written by an Englishman. It was, so Malleus Maleficarum, which is translated to Hammer of Witches, was a treatise about witchcraft, which was written by a German Catholic clergyman at the time. And it was first published in Germany and then kind of spread throughout the 15th century, right? Now, the Hammer of Witches, as the book's English name is, basically not only calls sorcery heresy, but also basically tells the readers, it tells its readers, torture confessions out of people.
Well, that's never worked.
Right? If you think somebody's a sorcerer, torture them. It's the only way to end the evils of witchcraft. When it was published... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It frustrates me because, like, torturing someone to force a confession out of them is literally like, like, once you're convicted, back then there was no getting out of it. Like, once you're convicted,
Yeah.
like, there's nothing you
Oh.
can really do to get out of it, because the system seems to be working against you. You know what I mean? Like, the system
Of
is built
course.
against you, and it's so frustrating.
Oh, it absolutely is. But we're just getting started on our story. There is a decent ending.
Okay. Remember, we have to
Now,
fit this within 30 to
yes,
an hour and a
yes.
half. Yeah.
Sorry
on.
if I'm like taking a lot of time.
It's okay.
No,
So,
you're
You're
doing
fine.
great.
okay, so the Malleus Malefactum, right? Essentially says torture witches. Force them to confess. Right? So eventually, like, these kids were just like, she tried to tempt us with the Malleus Malefactum, and she would tell us about screwing demons and like trying to get men to love us and so on and so forth. And the thing was, she also kind of gave them like a little children's game to figure out if a boy liked you or not, right?
Which
Which
one
was
is it?
essentially using a small mirror as a scrying glass, and whatever boy you see is the one that likes you the most. Which is like, kids nowadays do the same thing. Like, I remember when I was a kid and it was like that whole like Johnny thing where you put two pencils on a piece of paper and if it moves the ghost is
Okay,
there.
so
Like,
the mirror thing is a
Mm.
form of witchcraft. It is.
Oh,
Like, yeah, so
absolutely.
there is such a thing as mirror magic. So,
Mhm.
ooh, oh
But
god, you know, oof.
yeah,
Yeah.
but the thing is,
It doesn't look. The optics aren't good
yeah, the
for
optics aren't
her in that
great.
time.
Yeah, but especially for her in that time.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, essentially, each of these women were outcasts, and these were the usual suspects for witchcraft
Absolutely.
accusations because they were left to defend themselves. Nobody would care about them, right? In March, a bunch of other people were accused. Martha Corey, a child, Dorothy Good. Rebecca Nurse was accused in Salem, and Rachel Clinton in Ipswich
Don't they
was also
know?
accused.
Don't they know if their last name is Good, they can't possibly be a witch? I'm just saying. Their last
Right?
name is Good. Carry on.
So Martha Corey basically kind of expressed skepticism and was basically just like, "Are you sure the girls aren't lying to you? Right? Like, they're children, they're known to lie."
Right.
And Rebecca Nurse basically uh was a fully covered, she was a nun. They accused a nun of witchcraft, which
That's
kind of
madness.
rocked the boat in that time. Like, they were
Oh,
just like,
absolutely.
the nun? And so essentially, um, and so the people thought essentially like, if a nun can be a witch, then anybody can be a witch.
Yeah, that
You're
probably
all
scared a lot of
witches.
people.
And it got crazy. Dorothy Good, who was the daughter of Sarah Good, was only 4 at the time.
Oh my
That's so
god, she's
disgusting.
a child.
She was 4 and accused of witchcraft.
Okay. I'm mad. I'm mad. I'm mad.
But the thing
I'm mad,
was,
you guys.
I need you to imagine this, right? Because remember how I said that the girls were accusing literally anybody to get away from the big bad adults
You know
in their
what?
life?
I hate these fucking kids. I hate these fucking kids.
Now,
I hate them. I hate them.
imagine you're Sarah Good. You're 4 years old. You barely know how to speak, let alone tie your shoe. And all of a
Do
sudden, you're
fucking witchcraft.
surrounded by grown men wielding weapons,
No.
accusing you of witchcraft and threatening to send you to prison. And they ask you, who tempted you to the devil's side? You're 4. All the other kids have been blaming the adult women in their lives, and you only know your mother.
Oh no.
No,
Oh,
Sarah Good.
And she implicated her mother.
no. Oh.
She's one of the
That's so
ones.
tough.
She's one of the one. Okay, go on.
In Ipswich, Rachel Clinton was arrested for witchcraft on independent charges unrelated to the girls, that unrelated to everything that was going on within Salem at the time. Initial examinations included physical exams that were where essentially the accused were looked for unique markings, which at the time were seen as devil's marks.
Yep.
Which were moles, skin tags, literally anything that was against the norm, was a devil's mark. And specifically, the way they tested it was by using a thing. The way they tested it was by using this thing called pricking, which essentially was a needle that was on a stick. And the idea was that if you press the needle into the mark and it did not hurt the child, like if you press the needle onto that mark and it didn't hurt, well, you got a witch right there, bestie. Now, the thing was, these needles were known to be trick needles. And the people who used them often did it because they wanted that person killed.
Yep.
The handles for these needles were hollow. So they could hold the needle out, stab the person, right, on their regular flesh and cause it to bleed, and then let go a little bit, push it into the mole, and the blade would go inside of the handle. And it would act like, magic! The witch! But it really was just sleight of hand.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, they did this to a literal 4-year-old.
Why do you want to kill a 4-year-old, dude? What's wrong with you?
Because
what
she's
the
a
fuck
witch.
is wrong with you?
Humans are weird and fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Historically.
Oh, absolutely. So now a lot of people, like quite a few people, kept getting accused, and so a bunch of men decided, you know what, this can't be right. We need to come up with a way to have law and order in our town. So they came up with a council. They came up with this thing called the governor. A bunch of men who were all local magistrates and members of the governor's council came forward and essentially decided, we need to come up with a council that would stop this, right? And so eventually what ended up happening was they formed oh god, I'm forgetting the name of the council. But they formed this court called the Court of Oyer and Terminer, where essentially they would convene and try every single witch, right? Now a lot of women and some men were accused of witchcraft at this point. And so they start looking into these cases and they convene and they're just like, they would convene and look at all of these cases and determine who would go free and who would stay in prison and who would hang. Now, Cotton Mather wrote to one of these judges, right? John wrote to one of the judges. His name was John Richards, who was a member of his congregation on May 31st, 1692. And he told them, like, I want you to prosecute witches. I want you to keep going. I want you to keep doing this. However, he cautioned, and I quote, do not lay more stress on pure spectral evidence than it will bear. It is very certain that the devils have sometimes represented the shapes of persons not only innocent, but also virtuous. Though I believe that the just God then ordinarily provides a way for the speedy vindication of the persons thus abused. Basically, in American English, modern day American English, bro really just said, don't push spectral evidence that hard. Like, demons have been known to accuse innocent people before.
I was literally going to say, how would they not know that the kids are being coerced by, in their minds, demons or whatever to accuse people falsely?
Exactly.
There was a lot of things that went wrong with this trial. A lot of
oh yeah,
there was a lot of things that happened where they definitely had a prejudice. They definitely had already made a conclusion in their mind and were doing anything and everything to make said conclusion happen and go the way they want it to go. So
oh absolutely. And so one thing that ended up happening was they executed a lady named Bridget Bishop, because she was the very first case that was brought before them. And Bishop was described as not living a Puritan lifestyle. She wore black clothing and made odd costumes, which was against the Puritan code. And when she was examined for her trial, Bishop was asked about her coat, which had been weirdly cut or torn in 2 different ways. This, along with the fact that she lived an immoral lifestyle, affirmed to the jury that Bishop was a witch.
What
right?
what about her lifestyle was immoral? Is it because she was a single woman?
No, it was because she wore black and she was kind of goth. like she wore black and made costumes.
Would I
and they were like, that's
you guys?
immoral.
I think I would have been. I think
I think all of us would have been.
Daku.
I would be dead.
Daku. Misa would have been killed. You and I would have been made slaves and then killed. That's how it was back then.
Like, just because she wore black, just because she was goth, like, we don't like her. She's a witch, you guys.
Right? So the thing is, that same day she was convicted. They didn't give her time in prison. Same day. Yeah. Convicted and hung.
Straight to the freaking...
Straight to the tree.
Called? Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. The next ones that the jury wanted to see were Rebecca Nurse and John Willard. Now, for reasons that were unclear, they decided, let's not do this. Right? Like, let's not go along with this case for now. Let's wait. So immediately following the execution of Miss Bishop, they decided they're gonna look to New England and ask the ministers, upon the state of things as they then stood, what they should do.
Fuck. This is when it gets really bad.
The ministers responded with a list of 9 things to do. Right?
I don't want to hear about it, but I do.
The list is pretty long. I'm gonna try to sum it up. Number 1, basically, your neighbors are getting messed with by demons. So look, they need help, right? Like, they need help in multiple capacities. 2, we can't essentially we can't acknowledge without we can't without thinking God, right? That y'all have the ability to look for witches. 3, basically kill every witch you can find, right? Like, prosecute any and all such witchcrafts and kill them. 4, as far as complaints upon witchcraft, basically don't presume that people are witches. Don't presume things. Just go throughout the proceedings and listen to the evidence. 5, when the first inquiry was made, when you first asked this question, we only wish we could admit we basically we, as in the clergy, wish that there could be as little noise and openness about this, right? Like, don't expose all of what's going on. 6, don't presume that people are guilty of witchcraft, right? Like, look for a confession, but don't presume for one. 7, we don't know what devils are doing, bro. Like, devils will lie, they'll cheat, all of that. We don't know what's going on here. And then 8, we cannot but humbly recommend unto the government the speedy and vigorous prosecution of such, according to the given laws of God, the wholesome statutes of the English nation, for the detection of witchcraft. Now, these were 8 tenets that they were given, right? Thomas Hutchison sums the letter up. Basically, the 2 first and last sections of this advice take away from everything else. And the prosecutions went on with more vigor than before. Basically, to sum up what I just said, the judges prosecuted a lady, hung her, and then went, maybe we should ask our bosses before we do anything more.
Right.
They asked their bosses, and their bosses were just like, all right, dog, y'all did a good job. Y'all did a good job on this one. Maybe dial it back a little bit. And then at the end of that memo of dialing it back, they were just like, yeah, but nah, wipe them all out.
But if you think for sure, then murder the shit out of them.
Exactly. Right.
Because if they didn't, then they were like, well, then you're not finding the witches, because they believe that they're witches.
So
but
my question here.
Yeah.
The drowning of women, the putting weights on their chest to prove that they are witches. Where did the instruction manual come from that when they started torturing
that started way early on. So originally back in the day, they would burn them at the stake. Yeah. That was Europe's go-to. Yeah. You're a witch in Europe, burned at the stake. Now, the drowning of witches came from this belief, and mind you, this was only in Europe. Salem didn't really do this. Salem mostly hung people.
Yeah. I
say mostly because there's like 1 or 2 different deaths that were not hangings.
Say guy got crushed to death, I think, by rocks.
Yes.
They put things on his chest until it crushed him.
I'm gonna get to that.
Oh, sorry.
So it's okay. You're going ahead of me, but it's fine. It's fine. So essentially, in Europe, the whole drowning thing, basically they believed that if you were a witch and you were tied up and drowned, your body would not float. Right? Like if you died, your body wouldn't float. But if you were innocent, your body would float. And you'd be saved by flotation. Even though you're tied to a boulder.
Even though you've drowned. Yeah, but
and so they just drown people for no reason. And that's just mind you, those were human atrocities against like most women. That's not talking about what they did to their slaves and the people that they considered cattle, but we're not going to get into that right now. Anyway, back to Salem, Massachusetts. So they took this information, started going kind of crazy with it. They started taking everybody they could, arresting everybody, like hanging everybody. And at one point, there was, oh, I forgot. Yeah, in September of 1692, they had indicted 18 more people. Now, I need to preface this. Remember, the first 3 original people that were indicted. There were 3 original people that were indicted, and then after those 3 were indicted, 4 more people got indicted. So we have 7 right now. Then we went from 7 to 9. 9 people indicted in total. And then after those 9 people were indicted, they proceeded to issue warrants for 36 more people.
Jesus, dude.
36. And then after those 36 more people, they decided, you know what? We're going to indict 18 more. Now, this is September. It's September 1692. It's the middle of summer. I don't know how summer is in Massachusetts, but I'm going to assume that it's hot and not
Muggy,
pleasant.
yeah.
It's muggy. It's not pleasant. It's hot. People are kind of going crazy. A man named William Proctor, a man named Giles Corey, right? September 19th, 1692, a man named Giles Corey, of the age of 81 years old, is arrested and tried for witchcraft. They ask him, "Are you a witch?" He denies it. So they decide, we need to torture a confession out of this man. He's 81. So they have him, they tackle him to the floor, strap him down, place a board over his chest, and start placing weights on top of it.
Yep.
And they keep telling him, just admit that admit that you're a witch and we'll get rid of the weights. And he keeps telling him, no.
Good for him.
And he ends up crushed in between the stones. Now, 4 more people pleaded guilty, and 11 others were tried and found as guilty. So a total of 15 other people were found as guilty. On September 20th, Cotton Mathers wrote to Stephen Sewall, essentially, I may be more capable to assist in lifting up a standard against demons, and requested a narrative of evidence given in the trials of half of a dozen people. Or if you want, a whole dozen of the principal witches that have been killed. Basically, he asked Stephen, yo, you see all the dead witches that we have? Write down what they did.
Yeah.
They then proceeded to execute 8 more people. Now, Stephen wrote down, after execution, Mr. Noyes turning him to the bodies said, "What a sad thing it is to see 8 firebrands of hell hanging there."
That angers me. Like it
sad.
It angers me.
It's tragic. That's all it is. It's just tragic.
It is. It's tragic.
And all because of
Nonsense.
religion.
Nonsense.
No, it's all because of religion, and it just.
Now, after that, a lady by the name of Dorcas Hoare, who was arrested,
What a name.
I don't know if it's pronounced Hoare or like it's spelled Hoar. So
she was arrested for her last name. Let's be honest. She was arrested because of her last name.
So she was arrested, and with the support of several ministers, basically made a confession of being a witch. While Mary Bradbury, age 77, escaped with the help of family and friends, she got out of prison. She escaped. She ran off.
Good for her.
Abigail Faulkner Sr. was pregnant and basically told, we're not going to kill you because you're pregnant, right? Now, Mathers quickly completed his account of the trials and wrote Wonders of the Invisible World, which I have read. It is insane. It is an insane read. It was given to Phipps when he returned from fighting in Maine. Burr says both Phipps's letter and Mather's manuscript had to have gone to London on the same ship in mid-October. Judge Sewell wrote, the court of Oyer and Terminer count themselves thereby dismissed. asked whether the court of Oyer and Terminer should sit, expressing fear of inconvenience by its fall. The governor said that it must fall. Perhaps by coincidence, Governor Phipps's wife, Lady Mary Phipps, was amongst those who had been called upon at this point.
Yeah.
And so Phipps stopped everything. And after and of course after Phipps's order, there were no more executions.
Of course. 'Cause
Now
now it's their problem.
exactly. Now, the Supreme Court of Judicature showed up in 1693 and essentially said, right, like they came in and they were just like, dog, we don't allow spectral evidence as evidence of guilt. You cannot tell me that a ghost said that is a witch.
Yes.
Most common sense we've freaking heard.
And so for the first 5 cases tried in January of 1693, 5 people who had been indicted but not tried in September, all were found not guilty.
Thank God.
Grand juries were then held for many of the rest of them that were still in jail, and they dismissed charges on many of them, except for 3 people: Elizabeth Johnson Jr., Sarah Wardwell,
Good.
and Mary Post.
Okay. Wait, Sarah Good was I know that Sarah Good was one of the ones that was
Sarah Wardwell, a different person.
No, but I thought
Sarah was a very popular
But I
name.
thought Sarah Good was the one that
Sarah
was
Good was the
executed.
child that indicted her mother.
Sarah
When
Good
Stone, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
carry on. No, Sarah Good was the mother, and I thought that she was killed during the trials.
I believe she was, yes.
Okay.
When Stoughton wrote warrants for the execution of these 3 and the others remaining from the previous court, Governor Phipps pardoned them and was like, dog, hell no, you're not killing more women. A bunch of people ended up staying on trial. However, Lydia and Sarah Dustin were also found not guilty, but they were not allowed to leave jail unless they paid their jail fees, which eventually killed Lydia Dustin, where she
No.
perished in prison on March 10th,
Oh my
1693.
God.
At the end of
Because she couldn't afford it.
April, yep. At the end of April, the court convened in Boston, cleared Captain John Alden by proclamation, heard charges against a servant girl, Mary Watkins, for falsely accusing her mistress of witchcraft. They also convened in Ipswich and held a variety of grand juries. They then dismissed charges against all but 5 folk, and they were all found not guilty at trial, which put an end to everything. Now, the total numbers from of what ended up happening. There were 200 people accused. 200 people were accused of witchcraft.
How many were
in
murdered?
14 months.
That's such a small span, too.
Not everybody who was accused during that time lived there, by the way. They didn't even live there. They were just accused. Now, around 151 people, nearly half of all that were accused, were able to be traced back to 25 different New England communities. 30 people had been found guilty, 19 of which were executed by hanging.
Hold on, how many people were murdered? So there was 200 accused, and then how many?
200 accused,
Mhm.
19 were killed. And 19 were killed by hanging, 1 killed by torture, and 5 because they were stuck in a disease-ridden prison.
Yeah.
Now, amongst those that were killed in prison, amongst those that were killed in these prisons, one of the people that they do list down is an infant
Oh no.
named Infant Scargen. Not a lot of information exists as to why their mother, Elizabeth Scargen, was imprisoned on charges of witchcraft, but she had spent 6 months in jail, during which she gave birth,
Oh,
and the kid died prior to
not a
her
good environment.
release
Oh,
because she was in a disease-ridden prison.
that
Um,
sucks.
On top of that, as many as up to 13 additional people were considered to have also likely died. Now, tons of death.
Yep.
Tons of
Yeah.
death. But here's the thing. The future doesn't always look kindly on the past. Now, many people, many people, um, essentially started calling for, like, they essentially started calling for justice, right? Like,
Yeah.
19 people died, dude, and most of them were thrown into shallow graves.
Right.
According to an account by one victim's family, they found they had watched as she was hung, and they had followed where they threw the body. She was found just kind of stuck amongst rocks,
Oh.
and the way they found her was her leg was sticking up out of the crevice,
Oh.
and they dragged her body back and buried her because the men did not care.
Of course they didn't. Why would they?
Now,
And
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, in a lot of cultures in general, still today, obviously, burial is a big deal for a lot of people, but especially back then, a non-proper burial, if you believed in any god to any degree, it doesn't matter if you're Puritan or Christian or whatever, a proper burial was very important for you to be able to cross and,
Yeah.
into the other realm.
Having an
Now,
unmarked grave is like
It's
the
bad, yeah.
worst.
and so eventually what ended up happening was after quite a few years, people started petitioning the courts, right, to reverse the convictions of the women that had already been deemed guilty and were killed. And of course, many people signed it. However, the courts just didn't really care.
Right.
Of course
They're
not.
dead. Like, why
Yeah.
are we doing this?
They
Now,
were done wrong. It was such an injustice. Like,
Yeah.
now remember, one of the very first accusers was Ann Putnam Jr.
Mhm.
And she was one of the most active accusers at the same time. She eventually, around August of 1706, years later, about, I want to say maybe 15 years later, publicly asked for forgiveness from the public, and claimed that she did not act out of malice, but had been deluded by Satan into denouncing innocent people, mentioning in particular Rebecca Nurse, the nun, and was
Yeah, it makes me
accepted for
question if
full
she was even.
membership.
I would say I think it was. I don't even know if she was telling truth then. You know what I mean? Like about who
Probably
pressured her
not.
into, saying names. If anything, I feel like it was probably being encouraged by the men in power of the town that were interrogating her. Same
Exactly.
with the other
not
children.
only
Yeah.
that, it's just you don't know what the accusers were thinking. It could just be jealousies.
I mean, they were children too. Yeah.
It could be.
Oh, absolutely. And so eventually, December 17th, 1711, Governor Joseph Dudley authorized monetary compensation for the families of the 22 people that were in the 1709 petition. And he had announced, which, mind you, these seem like small numbers today. This was a lot back in 1600s. He had announced that they would be given 578 pounds and 12 shillings to be dispensed amongst the survivors of those the survivors and relatives of those accused. Most accounts were settled within a year, but Philip English's extensive claims were not settled until 1718. and eventually they reversed the excommunications of Rebecca Nurse and Giles Corey, the 81-year-old man that was crushed to death and the nun that they hung. Now, Rebecca Nurse's descendants have erected an obelisk-shaped granite memorial in her memory in 1885. And in 1892, another monument was erected in honor of 40 neighbors who signed a petition in support of her. Not all of them had been exonerated in the early 18th century. In 1957, descendants of 6 people who had been wrongfully convicted and executed, but who had not been included in the bill for reversal or added to it in 1712, demanded that the general court formally clear the names of their ancestors.
Yep.
An act was passed announcing the innocence of those accused, although it listed only Anne Pudeator by name. The others were listed only as certain other persons. Phrasings which failed specifically to name Bridget Bishop, Susanna Martin, Alice Parker, Wilmot Red, and Margaret Scott.
So they named Tituba, because I'm guessing, was her grave unmarked?
She died and was buried in an unmarked grave.
And they didn't do anything for Tituba? What about Tituba? Where's her pardon? Like, where
Tituba was not given a pardon.
Well, you gotta think about it this way too. Even those families of the people who were accused and gotten pardons probably still didn't care.
Was it
about
because she
her.
was a person of color?
It's because she was a slave, yeah. I
Not
can
only
almost
was
guarantee it.
Not only was she a slave, she wasn't executed. Actually,
Okay.
she was not, like, if she was, it was never written down.
Okay.
She was
Right.
not executed. She was arrested, however. And let's see here. She was pardoned
Okay.
by a reverend, I believe. Eventually, 300 years on the 300th anniversary of the trials in 1992, Danvers made a memorial park dedicated to the Salem witch trials, which included stone slab benches inserted within within a stone wall for each of those killed. Speakers of the ceremony included playwright Arthur Miller, and Nobel laureate Elie Wiesel. They made their own new memorial and reinterred the bones that they dug up in 1950, assumed to be those of George Jacobs Sr., in a new resting place in Rebecca Nurse homestead. The land on the area that was purchased by the city of Salem in 1936, which was renamed to Witch Memorial Land, but there was no memorial ever put on the site. There's also this popular misconception that Gallows Hill was where they killed a bunch of people. That was not correct.
Okay.
A lot of people were told that a woman was held at the house below the hill where she could see people attending executions. Which is how researchers basically figured out that, like, yeah, they didn't kill people on the hill. They killed people probably like near the hill, so
Right.
that families could watch the executions for fun, you know?
Jesus. Yeah. That was a big thing back then.
Yep. In January 2016, the University of Virginia announced its project team had determined the execution site on Gallows Hill, where 19 witches had been hung in public. Members of the Gallows Hill project had worked with the city of Salem using old maps and documentation, as well as sophisticated GIS and ground-penetrating radar, to survey the area of what had become known as Proctor's Ledge, located at the base of the hill, which they say was easier for spectators to reach than the top of the gallows. The city owns the property and dedicated the Proctor's Ledge Memorial to the victims there in 2017. A documentary called Gallows Hill 19 is in production currently. a lot of people have used the Salem witch trials in TV shows and in movies to kind of
Yes.
like bring out like this whole like, oh yes, it's haunted, there's witches, there's magic, there's a reason why witches are hidden, and so on and so forth. Most notable would be most notable and most recent would be Agatha All Along, which said that those
Mhm.
Salem witch trials did happen. There were covens in Salem, and that's why witches kind of went underground
Yeah.
for the most part. And again, I hate mentioning JK's works, but in Harry Potter, they mentioned that the witch trials were the reason why the witches and no mages don't mix.
Mhm.
Like they're like it's used for a lot of different reasons. However, not a lot of people study the tragedy of what really actually happened. And those who
Right.
do study the tragedy of it might know it in passing, or they might actually write a whole thesis on it, unfortunately, like I
Well,
almost did.
one of the way
Um
what I remember learning was like one of the
mhm.
things that they said was that the girls that were blaming all these people ate some bread that had like a specific type of mold that
Rye
caused them to
bread,
have
yeah. Hallucinations.
hallucinations, and that's where their accusations came from. So that's
Well, you're not actually wrong. You're not actually wrong. Ironically enough, the well, not even ironically, just straight up, you're right. For a little extra detail on that, there had been a lot of stuff that people explored about what happened 400 years ago. But one of the common ideas was that not only was there a psychological hysteria in response to Indian attacks, right? Um, there was also rye bread that had been infected by a fungus called Claviceps purpure,
you
which
even
was
know what the mold was. I am so proud of you. I love you. Damn, I am okay. Let's go. We're talking
which
food, of
was
course.
a substance from which LSD is made.
Yep.
So essentially they were tripping LSD constantly.
Yep.
There was also an epidemic of bird-borne encephalitis lethargica, and as well as sleep paralysis. Now, I want you to imagine you're 12 years old, you've been eating this moldy
tripping
rye
balls.
bread, you're tripping balls on the daily, and you also have sleep paralysis demons.
Yeah, it'd be, especially back then, it'd be hard to not think it's something demonic when that's
Right?
all you've been instilled with.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, everybody's going kind of crazy because
Everybody else is eating the
natives
bread,
are
yeah.
trying to kill you constantly, and
yeah.
everybody's eating the bread. Like it was a terrible, terrible time.
Damn.
Of course,
Plus, it's
modern.
easy to blame
Mhm.
disease on that kind of stuff, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
When you don't understand it.
Now, there are some modern historians that don't like to focus on the fact that there were biological components to why all of this happened, right? Because that biological components, while yes, it explains away a lot of what the accusers did, take away from the human element of it.
Mhm.
They
I
take away from
mean,
the fact that there could have been jealousy, there could have been hatred, there
Oh,
could have been other
absolutely.
or
motives.
that, like I said, okay, that it was not a diagnosed symptom, but some of it could have been possibly someone that was stimming who was autistic or within.
Oh,
You know
Yeah.
what
absolutely.
I mean?
Yeah, and I mentioned that
So
earlier.
yeah, and so it's
Anyone
just
who's
Um,
different.
and
Yeah.
but no, like
mhm.
yeah, some of the terrible behaviors that they're acting sounds like children
Right.
with ADHD.
Oh,
Or
Yeah.
you know what I
absolutely.
mean? It's just it seems like it's something that's existed our entire life. Some kids were hyper, some kids were not. And some like it's
Mhm.
something that we didn't diagnose back then. So it could literally be that the reason those kids were acting like heathens is they were probably just ADHD or ADD or some kind of
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Um, one of the things that I don't know if I don't know if I'm doing good on time. Am I doing good on time?
We are hitting the 2.5 hour mark, so we're getting into the long part right now. So
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm so
it's
sorry. I
no, it's
will.
No,
fine.
you're
It's
doing
fine.
great.
You're
You've
doing
had
great.
so much good
It's a
information.
huge topic.
Yeah,
Hey,
huge
Neon.
topic. I will finish up with saying one last thing. Now, of course, all of this happened over 400 years ago. There is no way we can account for what they were thinking or what they were feeling back then whatsoever, besides written accounts, which were mostly written by men. Now, I I personally, whenever I think about the witch trials, and mind you, I love studying them and I love looking at them, not just because of the fact that it is completely tragic and it is one of the darkest times in American history. I also love looking at it because when you think about it from the perspective of when you think about it from the perspective a of a call like of just a person living in that time, being stuck in a world where everything has to be by the Christian Bible, and if it's not, then you are cast out. All of that happening, and you're seeing your neighbors left and right be accused of witchcraft. The amount of not only fear but religious indoctrination that had to have been going
Mhm.
on in that time.
This is where I get angry.
For me, I look at all of it and I read it and I understand it, and I can't help but draw parallels to nowadays, to how things are
Yep.
going now.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And
and
I sit here. Oh, go ahead.
and this is kind of why I felt like this was an actual important episode to cover, is like
Yep.
something more focused on um making like women seem evil or women seem unfit or women like it's just a time where women were being repressed and they're trying to go back and repress women. So I felt like this topic, especially in this disgusting climate that we have right now going on in the United States, like I felt like this was an important episode. You know what I mean? I'm emotional
Mhm.
coming into this episode, but I'm more like I've already cried multiple times because of the like just how unjustifiably angry I am because of how stupid it all was and how much like we lost 19 lives because of stupidity, lies, and it's just it carry
Wasn't just
on.
it, it
Whew.
wasn't just 19. It was in total, I believe. Hold on. 1, 2, 4, 6, 8,
How many? So
21,
many. But like
22.
I grieve for
It
those.
was it was roughly, oh god, what is 22 plus 19?
1 second. I have a calculator. I'm not good at math. 41.
41. 41 people
Jeez, dude.
total died.
So
It's such a small period.
because of and it makes me so angry that they actually like were like, oh, let's go ahead and reach out to the same people that we moved to the United States to get away from. Yeah, let's go ahead and ask them and see, hey, what are we supposed to do about this? It's just like that religion. Like this is why I was so fast to just I was so fast to toss aside my religious beliefs because I was raised super Christian, because there's so many things that I don't agree with about it and how terrible it is. And I know of how many people actually died because of this book that they follow, and so it fills me with a rage. And
Which is fair. Absolutely.
It fills me with a rage, and I can't explain it. But
That's how you should feel.
I'm
That's how
em-
people should
yeah,
feel.
I'm
Instead
I'm
of
em-
trying to repeat the
Absolutely.
past.
I'm just emotional about this whole thing because they burned women. Like they legit like killed women and burned women and even some men, and it's just like because they didn't want to believe in what you believe with. That's pretty much the only reason why. Like you wanted them to, you know, deny that they are, and if they are of Wiccan practices, then you punish them for
Mhm.
it because it's not what you believe. It's just but I felt like
Yeah,
during this climate, this episode is important. And this episode is
Absolutely.
most likely gonna piss people off, but I really don't give a fuck. I don't.
One
If this pisses those people off, they are not the kind of people we want around anyway.
Yeah.
I'll
exactly.
say it.
One of the good things to remember is that there are some people who did escape. There are people who did escape from prison and who got out and who were able to survive. John, what the heck, dude?
I'm about to say, whoa, holy shit,
Well,
surprise!
wow, I guess it's a cool ass episode.
She deserves it. She deserves it.
Jonathan, thank you. That's that is
Hugs
so
for you, Jonathan.
Hugs for you, John.
that was oh my god. That's
Now
a
she's gonna
lot.
cry again.
Thank you. Yeah,
God
I
damn it.
thank you for that. That's a huge tip. I really appreciate that, and that is helpful for like that is helpful right now, especially right now. So Neon
Shall
says,
we?
as a Christian, I'm not pissed at all. I think it was terrible what a lot of people had to
Yes, and
endure during those times, and what we have
not
to
all
endure
Christians
now.
are like that. And I
No,
would actually argue to say that people that
Exactly.
do that shit or believe the shit that's happening now are not what I would consider a true Christian in the beliefs of what it
no,
should be.
no.
Oh,
They
absolutely not.
yeah. We will discuss more of this in Ghoulish Bites because
Yes, yes.
it's
Shall
one
we
of
get to the
those.
pictures?
Oh yes, we may. Yes, we may. Wes
She's discombobulated.
Jonathan tossed me into I can't even fucking talk right now, dude.
I was
Like
gonna
Daku
say
was thrown
Jonathan's
into the
tip got her
blender.
messed up, but it sounded wrong.
I
Jonathan
like
gave her just the tip and it messed her up. It's okay.
I'm
Grim took it right from my mouth.
I'm trying. I'm seriously trying to remember what I'm
Shooketh.
doing right now.
That is what I'm
Alright.
here for.
Okay, here we go. We got it, you guys. We got it. All right. So,
Oh, this is not one of mine.
Oh, that's me.
Oh shit. Don't look. Don't look.
Close your eyes.
No
Everyone close
one
your
look.
fucking eyes.
You're not allowed to see that. Okay.
There we go. That is.
All right,
There
here
we
we
go.
go. So the very first picture that I have for all of your lovely viewing pleasures is Tituba and the children. On the left you'll find all of the lovely little accusers, and on the right you'll find Tituba, drawn in the way as to not flatter her whatsoever.
Drawn in
I
a
was
way to
literally
make her
gonna say
they villainized her. They drew her
Absolutely.
and villainized
they give
her.
her very stereotypical.
And
like,
she was
old
a
school
little
witchy
girl.
face.
Why is she an old lady in this illustration? She was a little girl. Like, what the fuck?
Exactly.
I think Tituba. She wasn't. Well, I don't know if she was she like a child or
She was a
adult.
she was I thought she was like not much older than them. She was
No.
she
At
was
the
probably a teenager.
time- hold on. So let's see. They don't
If you know.
quite. Oh
Specify.
Lord.
I thought she was like
They don't-
I thought she was a
yeah.
teenager for them. I thought she was a teenager for them. But
They don't quite like specify how old she was.
of
I
course.
certainly don't think she was as old as she's portrayed. That's for damn
Oh,
sure.
she is not. She was a little girl.
Essentially, the only thing that was known, the only thing that like verifies her age is Thomas Hutchison wrote in 1764. Mind you, this was decades after she had passed, that she'd been brought to the country from New Spain, which historians basically took that to mean the Caribbean, right? Specifically from Barbados. But that's all speculation. And mind you, mind you, she was a young woman in her
Yeah.
30s at the time.
Oh.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
she in the 1990s, Elaine G. Bradshaw, no, not Bradshaw, Breslaw, identified her with Tatuba, born circa 1662 through 1666, who was documented as enslaved to one Samuel Thompson in Barbados in 1674. Breslaw proposed that the name Tituba was derived from Tetebetatana clan of the Arawak language speakers, and that she was born near Venezuela and captured when she was just a child.
Oh my god, it's so terrible,
Yeah.
dude.
Other historians say that she was born in Africa, and in 1998, one historian objected to both lines of the argument as compounded speculation.
Right.
Because because a lot of the time slaves did not have documentation. They were
Yeah.
cattle.
Right. Right.
And so it was just kind of like like nobody really knows how old Tituba was at the time, but we
Oh.
know that she was from Barbados.
And we
That's
know-
pretty much
yeah.
all we know.
That's upsetting.
Yeah,
This
it's
pisses me off so much.
yeah.
Ugh,
Super
this
logical.
makes me so mad.
In a whole room full of people, that's craziness.
Mm-hmm. The next one. This was a illustration that was drawn and painted, of what the examinations would look like when they would find a witch. Now, imagine you're 4
Oh my god.
and this
dude.
is going on around you.
I hate it. I hate everything about this.
They did this to over 200 people.
Yeah, this is
Mass
horrifying.
humiliation, man.
I hate it. I hate it so much. Is that one of the accusers? Is this one of the accusers that had a fit in the middle of a trial?
This was in fact what one of the trials looked like.
Mhm.
Essentially, one of the ways that they would try people back in the early days before they came up with the court of Oyer and Terminus, was they would essentially have the child who was tripping on LSD
Mhm.
just kind of going crazy, right?
Yeah.
And then they would bring forth the accused and tell them, touch the kid. Just place your hand on the child. And if they placed their hand on the child and the child stopped moving, which if you have ever been a child when a random adult touches you, you kind of freeze up.
Yeah.
Then that proved that you were a witch. Because
And I also sorry, keep going.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say the power of suggestion is way stronger than people know or believe as well.
Mhm. And so one of the things is essentially one of the things that happened was that they would is that these kids would have these fits, and the common belief at the time, and I know I need to wrap up quickly, so I'm going to wrap up with this. The common
You're
belief
right, love.
the common belief was that if a witch had cursed a child, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they had touched the child, the curse would leave the child and be sucked back into the witch, because magic always wants to go back to its progenitor or something. And so whenever they would touch the child having the fits and the child would stop, all of a sudden, oh, the magic's gone, child's fine.
I hate it.
Man, these kids are tripping on LSD. You'd think these kids who are tripping on LSD suddenly feel the calluses of another human's touch on their like hand, and they're not gonna be like, whoa, that shit feels weird. Like, dog, come on. Oh Christ on a cracker. But yeah, that was the Salem witch trials. It was a terrible year for America. And to this day, like, you can see various mass hysterias that are very, very similar occur. Like
Time is a flat circle.
Time is a flat circle. Same thing happened with 9/11. It happened with the Red Scare. It happened with it happened in Nazi Germany. It happens everywhere. And the thing is, sometimes you just don't know if you're doing it subconsciously or not. And so it's one of those things where even while I study the Salem witch trials and I study this mass hysteria that occurred, even now, like, I catch myself sometimes and I'm just like I'll catch myself sometimes and I'm just like, oh man, like, good thing that, like, I'm not in good thing I'm not near the Jehovah's Witness. And it's like, bro, why do I feel that way about Jehovah's Witness? They didn't do anything to me personally. Like, I don't know a Jehovah's Witness like that.
Right.
Like, the most I know about a Jehovah's Witness comes from oh god, what was that one play? Oh god, I'm forgetting the name of it. But it's like the one that starts off with just like it starts off with a song of like a bunch of Jehovah's Witnesses going door to door.
No idea.
Only thing I can think of
We
is the
don't
Book of
watch.
Mormon.
Yeah, we
the
don't.
Book of Mormon.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what I'm thinking of.
Okay. Well,
That's the Mormon church. That's different. Yeah. Anyway, moving on from my topic. It's time for a break.
Thank you for that. Let's do a quick break. I'm gonna run to the ladies' room.
You did amazing.
Get some water. You did
Thank
absolutely
you.
amazing, Birdie.
I'm gonna kill me a fucking fly.
I hope you can come back for
tired
a
of this
future
shit.
episode. It would be nice to have you come back for a future episode or even a spooky slumber party episode.
Oh,
Which,
absolutely.
yes,
By the
glorious to
way,
have
you
you.
guys, we've got Spooky Slumber Party 3 now available on YouTube, and it will be available on Spotify tomorrow, June 1st at 12 a.m. if you guys wanted to hear Spooky Slumber Party 3. I'm excited for it, so I hope you guys give it a good listen. We'll stay thick.
And you stay spooky.